And once again, we really appreciate that you took time this morning. So basically, that is the purpose of this session this morning. And it's not a one-way session. It's not a one-way, it's not going to be one-way communication. We also look forward to inputs, to feedback from you. We need to know what's working, what's not. We need to set rules of engagement going forward as well. With those few words, you are welcome. And we're now going to also take you through a promo video, which will give you a picture of what Musina Makhado SEZ is all about. Some of you may have seen it before, even on the online. However, I always, each time I look at it, I always get to notice or realize something that I had not noticed before. So I also trust that it will be worth your while. That video will be for about 5 minutes, and thereafter we'll also show you a video of the smart city model, which will be about 10 to 12 minutes. Thank you very much. Rachel?
South Africa is the continent's leading business and manufacturing hub and boasts the most diversified and industrialized economy. In its northmost region lies a place that's home to an abundance of wildlife, spectacular scenery, and cultural treasures. This is Limpopo Province. In addition to its natural magnificence, the province has a wealth of indigenous resources, which include rich mineral deposits and a profusion of industrial minerals. The province is also the leading producer of a wide variety of fruits, nuts, and vegetables. This also makes it home to a new world of game-changing economic opportunities. Introducing Musina Makhado Special Economic Zone, ideally located in the mineral-rich area of the Vhembe district of Limpopo Province, lying between the Musina and Makhado towns. It's a flagship initiative of the Limpopo provincial government to promote industrialization through a beneficiation economy and provide value-adding commercial business solutions. Anchored on an investment pipeline of over $15 billion, Musina Makhado Special Economic Zone provides unique business opportunities in 4 clusters: resource-based, general manufacturing, green energy, and logistics. The resource-based opportunities include mineral beneficiation for the metallurgical and energy cluster and agro-processing. The metallurgical and energy cluster focuses on mineral beneficiation from iron and steel, ferromanganese, ferrochrome, and other industrial minerals. Energy is derived from a coal power generation plant that will comfortably meet the needs of the metallurgical cluster. The agro-processing cluster will seamlessly facilitate the production of processed food products such as dried fruits, fruit juices, beverages, canned meat and vegetables for both domestic and export markets. The general manufacturing cluster will be the epicenter for metal beneficiation, plastics, and OEMs manufacturing and industrial chemicals. It will also provide crucial engineering support to companies located in the zones, incubation facilities for SMMEs, and a maintenance and input supply park for mining consumables, as well as mining companies for those located in other parts of the province. The Green Energy Hub will focus on generating solar power and related industries supporting it, including mass energy storage technology, such as lithium and vanadium redox flow batteries for energy storage for both domestic use and export. The zone is located in close proximity to the Beitbridge border post, the second busiest port of entry in South Africa, and a crucial commercial gateway to the SADC countries and the rest of Africa. This presents invaluable logistics, border and customs related services and facilities such as bonded warehouses, automotive distribution centers and holding depots, container terminals, petroleum distribution hubs, and truck shops. The zone can also be used as an inland intermodal terminal directly connected by both the N1 North-South Corridor and the Johannesburg-Musina Railway for the transshipment of sea cargo to inland destinations and manufactured goods to SADC markets. For increased market access and regional economic integration, the African Continental Free Trade Area will boost intra-Africa trade and create a market of more than 1 billion people with a GDP of $2.6 trillion that will unlock further development. Musina Makhado Special Economic Zone is supported by a number of world-class universities and technical vocation colleges, producing skilled, talented, and capable workforces in the country. Investing at Musina Makhado SEZ provides special, empowering, and attractive tax incentive schemes for businesses and operators. With its unique wealth of abundant natural resources, a strategic location, and access to a reliable and professional labor pool, Musina Makhado Special Economic Zone offers investors in the mineral beneficiation, agro-processing, general manufacturing, and renewable energy industries a world of game-changing opportunities.
Thank you, Rachel. We'll now move to our next video, which is the Smart City model. A very exciting project, I must say. Enjoy.
A better life. Most people live in areas with no access to basic services. Shops are far away, and life is just a little too difficult. But this can be changed. We can all be connected. We can plan to have clean and smart spaces. We can use the sun to get energy. This will reduce the carbon footprint. We live in a changing world, and we too must see change. The world is moving fast, bringing difficulties like climate change, global pandemics, and economic and spatial inequalities, forcing cities to review and rethink of how to cope with these rapid changes. Infrastructure is old, energy resources are getting low, and unemployment is increasing. It may be time to introduce something new with visionary solutions. And for this to be achieved, a national innovation system ushering in a new digital era that shifts the way we view the future is the creation of a smart city. What is a smart city, and how is this going to change your life? A smart city is the next evolution, simply put, a different and better livable future pioneered by technology. Think the Garden of Eden, but with Wi-Fi. But what exactly is a smart city? The goal of a smart city is transformational. People are at the center of a smart city. The foundations and proper sanitation and water management, 24-hour electricity and water supply, efficient mobility, and public transport with a network of well-connected roads and access to reliable telecommunications. The circular economy, based on reuse, recycle, and share, meets with the concept of the smart city. With the wave of the fourth industrial revolution, driven by technology and digital solutions, our better way of living is closer than we think. Introducing the Musina Makhado Special Economic Zone Smart City, the new Limpopo. A proud national program that is set to radically transform Limpopo. The SEZ is an economic game changer for the country and Limpopo, but this will only happen if the SEZ is a part of a smart city. And the city will only come about once the two towns of Musina and Makhado come closer together with developments in between. That is when massive urban development will occur. So why Limpopo? Looking back into our history, the Mapungubwe, Tulamela, and the Zimbabwean kingdoms traded with the rest of the world. So the Special Economic Zone is poised to once more increase trade in the country and with the world. The province's economy is dominated by mining, tourism, and agriculture, rich in natural resources, a bountiful land of opportunity. To achieve a more diverse economic performance, trade and manufacturing ought to be improved to make a significant contribution in the creation of viable markets for goods and services, facilitated by human activity to deepen the economic integration. As a gateway city, there's a very strong potential to make the Africa Free Trade Agreement a reality that shares the sentiments of the Pan-African vision of an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa. And thus the project, Musina Makhado Special Economic Zone. The Smart City project connects the two towns of Musina and Makhado, creating the opportunity of developing several innovative smart projects along the N1 corridor from Bulukwane to Bay Bridge. Within the corridor will be impactful settlements and economic activity, and the corridor, as part of the Gauteng City region footprint, will in a dynamic way contribute to an integrated and connected Africa. Smart CBDs are very important for the contribution to the growth trajectory of South Africa as an economic hub. The smart and green CBDs will have rainwater harvesting and solar energy to limit carbon footprint and aim to move urban sustainability beyond the existing patterns of planning and engineering. Holding on to our vision of a leading, innovative, sustainable, and inclusive high-tech Africa gateway city. This simply means that the Smart City aims to demonstrate that it is possible to take urban and rural living and develop a smart and modern economy through technology. This means that a university graduate can look forward to envisioning their future at home because their technological and digital resources are at their disposal. An entrepreneur will not have to go far, as they will be at the epicenter of a growing economic hub. And an elderly person can look forward to receiving their medication with drone technology and have peace of mind. Surveillance and smart street lamps are part of a smart technology to reduce crime and increase safety. These are a few of the many examples that a smart city can do for me and you. A smart and sustainable environment with smart and responsive governance, encouraging smart living and ensuring smart mobility, and attracting and developing smart people. The smart city entails a smart special economic zone, a smart and green developmental path, smart towns, smart villages, smart highways, smart Bay Bridge border post. Transformation objectives for the smart city. The smart city key transformational areas lie in improving quality of life of all people and ensuring the delivery of basic services, diversifying the economy and attracting investment, both foreign and domestic, activating a green and smart city built from technology, and develop the N1 from Gauteng as a smart corridor linking Bulukwane to Bay Bridge with strategic smart precincts, ensuring that fiber, broadband and 5G are a part of the service delivery of ordinary life, employing the use of smart technology and enabling smart living and a healthy quality of life, showcasing the heritage and art endowment unique to the area through digital means, making spatial and economic growth a reality, and to co-create the smart city with business, labor, the universities, and the communities. We all know that our parents and our gogos will never leave their homes, and most of them are in the villages. So why not make their lives easier? Building health centers, communal water pumps powered by solar power, electrical solar panels, communal farming with fully functional technological agriculture, and easy access to high-quality education to young people. Having all this within the village. The relationship between the smart village and smart city is that accessibility to resources should be on par between both residencies, while data is shared to continue to improve the economic status. Smart villages link the remote areas to urban areas and ensure that villages are connected to the world. The smart economic zone sites will be smart precincts that will drive the economy to new heights and will be the catalyst for the smart city development. A place where people can work, live and play. A place where their economic lives could change. The SEZ precincts will change the way people work and participate in the fourth industrial revolution and the ongoing rapid changes. The role of the SEZ precincts is to industrialize South Africa. Industry clusters in the SEZ precincts will help to grow an inclusive economy and create new jobs. Manufacturing of products will increase the local content of the economy and improve localization. Attracting industries in the metal sector will forge a link to the metallurgy complex planned to be developed on the southern SEZ site. The light manufacturing of metal products, electronics, food and beverage, wood and paper, when exported, will increase trade. There is an ongoing market locally and in Africa for goods. This will be harnessed through packaging, freight and logistics, warehousing, and a retail center in the smart precinct. An African innovation cluster in the smart precinct will consist of a living lab, manufacturing hub, climate change, and knowledge center. And the African Innovation Cluster works on advanced manufacturing and business development together with climate change as aspects necessary for preparing the economy and society for the challenges of the 21st century. Smart city greening. Our forefathers and mothers practiced green sustainable living before. It is now being brought back with a technological twist and new green economy opportunities. The main point of green sustainable living is to lessen climate change and reduce carbon footprint. Being green and smart is an important economic strategy that looks to have a value-based economy focused on innovation, green industries for smart manufacturing that improves growth and sustainability of a smart city. The Transformation Corridor. One of the most exciting projects of the smart city is its location along the N1 corridor. The smart city will be key to the success of the National Transformation Corridor to reach out to Southern Africa and the rest of Africa and the world. There are grand plans of extending the N1's transportation system with airports and fast trains that would serve as a gateway to Africa. The cherry on top for the Gauteng-Zimbabwe link is the Smart City and Musina Makhado SEZ, which will improve South Africa's relations with SADC countries and beyond. Access to international markets through the ports of Durban and Richards Bay along the N1, N3 and N4 makes this project strategic. The Beitbridge border is facing challenges, but none that cannot be solved. Interventions for the border to reach its full potential is backed by plans to create a high-quality precinct that is attractive, people-friendly, and open opportunity for retail activity. This will facilitate the movement of goods and people to and from South Africa into the rest of Africa. As part of the smart city, the Beitbridge border will be a world-class port of entry for goods and people using latest advances in technology. So concerted efforts to making it a port of excellent service is of high priority. SMMEs and innovation. What is incredible with the smart city is the entrepreneurial aspect. Imagine Lufuno, owner of a cleaning company, being part of the services value chain, giving him and other small businesses such as catering, security and maintenance an opportunity to be part of the local economic cycle. And to further add to the support of business owners, innovation will be an integral part in growth opportunity. Lufono would have access to high-tech facilities with planned skills development programs and enterprises that introduce the participants to a mass audience and access to the world, a world of game-changing opportunities. With a solid vision and transformation objectives to build and to develop South Africa, free from apartheid spatial planning, to a city and future that can bridge the economic gap to bring all people on equal footing. This is a real plan that can solve problems and improve lives. With a vision of the smart city, we can build a resilient, vibrant, and prosperous province inspired by its diverse and creative people and its environment. Cheers to a smart city, a new Limpopo.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. I am certain that each one of us have seen an opportunity of partaking or participating in that smart city. I am sure of that. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any time, let me just start with some housekeeping which I omitted earlier with regards to the restrooms. If you go out to your left and left again, that's where the restrooms are. Also, the people right at the back, we still have some seat up front. If you want to move, you are welcome to do that. And yeah, there's also an empty table altogether there. Also, we've got people who are following online on YouTube and Facebook. You are also most welcome, and we trust that you are able to follow everything that's happening here. We are now going to move on to our next item, which would be a presentation or a status update by the CEO, Mr. Masuha. The stage is yours. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thanks very much, Mrs. Maguya, the Program Director. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The representatives of various business formations here in our province that are represented here, both at the provincial and the regional levels. I see Mr. Cheleni there, the president of the Limpopo Chamber, with his colleague Tatem Lauzi, and the university principal of the TUT campus in Limpopo and Polokwane in particular, Ndati Chamanu, various stakeholders here working with the Musina Makhado Special Economic Zone in Limpopo, the businessmen and women present here. Once more, good morning and thanks very much for joining us this morning on this important occasion of talking to each other. Today's occasion is meant to be a dialogue wherein we talk to each other on how best can we create opportunities for mutual benefit, how best can we help each other to make this Musina Makhado Special Economic Zone a success. At the outset, I want to clarify one point. Today's occasion is not a tender briefing session. I want to emphasize that point because there can be some confusion. Why is this CEO talking but not clarifying us about these tenders? Yeah, those who do briefing sessions for tenders, they meet somewhere on the briefing side, not here. Today we're meeting to discuss the opportunities that are there and that should be created using this vehicle of the special economic zone. I hope I'm clear, and I hope I've not disappointed a lot of people. Yeah, I'm saying so because sometimes these things of tenders can unnecessarily take away a very good positive energy. And whilst the technical team is trying to fix the movement of these slides using this gadget, I also wish to recognize participants who have logged in online to participate in this platform. And even before I get into this presentation, you'll all agree with me that the two videos have actually said a mouthful. The two videos summarizes a very, very, very long and complex story. The past 2 days when I was preparing for this event, I kept on changing my presentation, chopping and changing, because some information just becomes too much to say it in one day. And I have come to accept that those videos, they really go a long way in articulating our vision, in explaining our ambitions about the things we want to achieve as a province. And the last video about the new smart city really goes to town in terms of breaking down the vision on how do we then move forward in realizing that vision. And I must re-emphasize that that story you see there about this ambitious vision, it's not just a pipe dream. It's a story of the contribution that we intend to make as a way of trying to make the difference. And that journey has begun. We have started the process of laying the building blocks towards realizing that ambitious goal. And the first video, which explains the business model of the Musina Mercado Special Economic Zone, then closes some gaps in terms of what are these industrial activities that we intend to embark upon so that we can change the fortunes of our economy and our people. I'm giving this background because I want to avoid to speak to the specific details that are in my presentation that could have been responded to by the video. As I say, the story is big, is complex, is twisted. And part of the reason why we call for this engagement is because we want business people to be our partners in this journey, to walk side by side with us. And we want them to be active participants and not to sit there in the margins and complain that they are not talking to us. They are not giving us opportunities. Because those sentiments are there. Because if you don't know what is happening, it's easy to second guess what may be happening. So we want to have this conversation with yourselves here, allow you an opportunity to ask questions, but also we want you to say to us, this is how best we think things can be done differently. I must also warn you that this presentation, if it was to happen without this sabotage, it's likely to be a little longer. The dialogue will be preceded by the monologue. So that monologue is meant to really go into town to explain and in concrete terms firm up the things that we would have seen in the video. When somebody else controls it there from the back, it moves. When it's controlled by me here, it does whatever it does. Yeah, somebody there at the back is controlling better than me. Next slide. Okay. Can we maybe enlarge the screen and remove the other things on the right side of the screen? Yeah. There are some issues that I think are common cause that we need not waste time on, including about the fact that we are a government institution, we are located within LEADER. We are currently a subsidiary of LEADER, but the Special Economic Zone Act anticipate a situation where we should become a fully fledged independent entity that is able to execute this project alone without having to go via another entity. So that process is underway, led by the provincial government, and is very good progress to move the entity into that space. Yeah, the movement of this slide is really a challenge. And the issues of where Musina and Makhado are should be common cause to all of us. We shouldn't be over-explaining where is Musina and where is Makhado. But there are certain important factors. Maybe you should be helping me controlling from the backside. To move to the next slide. Many people who would not have been to Musina and Makhado would not know where our sites are. If you look at that map, at the top there is that yellow dot. That's where the Bedbridge Barra post is. And within a 20-kilometer radius, there is a town of Musina. And where there is a red marking is what we call the north side of our project, which is within the 20-kilometer radius to the border, and of course about 7 kilometers to town, and of course about a kilo or less into the Limpopo River, which separates us and Zimbabwe. Anything else that is beyond that red line at the top of this map, that's Limpopo River, that's the border, and that's Zimbabwe. Yeah, basically it means if you throw a stone across that river, you can hit the Zimbabwe that side on a good Monday. Let's move to the next slide. And then as we move to the next slide, I will explain to you a very interesting feature of what makes the towns of Musina and Makhado a unique place in our province and in our country. Whilst they trying to move that slide, you know, many countries up north in Africa, starting from Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Tanzania, DRC and beyond, they are largely dependent on basic supplies from this country. Because this country has over the years developed a firm industrial base that produces various commodities that feeds into the export market in the continent, in what we call intra-Africa trade. Over and above the fact that we export a variety of other products outside the country into the global markets, there are other products that, a lot of them, that goes into the region. And majority, if not over 95% of those products, they passes through this town of Polokwane. It passes through Makhado, it passes through Musina. Up they go. What it means is this N1 corridor we talk about is a passage through which quite a substantial amount of goods are moved out of the country and some into the country. And that therefore makes Musina area, where the border is, a strategic location where, as a province, we could then transform it into an inland dry port. What inland dry port means is a road to sea movement of goods. Goods could either be produced in that area, in that location, or goods could be moved into that location, which is an inland port, and then get into the logistics capacities, being rail, being air, and being moved to various other destinations. They could be moved to the harbor in Durban, Richards Bay, or in Maputo. The good could be moved directly by air to the other destinations across the globe. So there is that great potential of making sure that we do both production, build a production capacity in Musina, but also logistics capacity, so that the people who move a polo vehicle from the Eastern Cape in Gqeberha to Malawi, it gets produced there, but it still has to pass through here to go to Malawi, to a client in Malawi. If the Polo Classic in Malawi doesn't have spark plugs, doesn't have certain components, they still come back to Johannesburg to source those products back to Malawi. So that's what makes then the Beitbridge border post and the Musina-Makhado corridor a strategic zone for the purpose of building those logistics capacity, manufacturing capacity, so that some of the products that are required up north, you don't have to go to the coast, you don't have to go into the hinterland to look for those products, but they can be produced, assembled in Musina and moved up north. Those that are readily assembled and produced, they could be redistributed from Musina through those logistic channels we're talking about. And that is the whole idea of the business case of the MMSEZ. I want to talk to this slide shortly. During the July 2021 unrest, we have experienced certain things that were never seen before in the history of this country since 1994 and even before, wherein the supply chain channels were interrupted. The goods that we enjoy on a daily basis here in South Africa, some of them comes from the outside markets. They get imported into the country through Durban, and then they move through the N1, they go to Johannesburg, they come this side, and they go up north. And some of those goods also includes even food supplies, petroleum resources, petrol, oil, paraffin, gas, and all that. And we've seen something happening wherein the country was put on a gridlock for about a week and a half. And one of the things that was about to become a reality was that if that unrest would have been sustained for the next few more days, 3, 4, 5 more days, the people who live in the outskirt areas like ourselves, in the hinterland, would have been cut out from the supply chains. Those trucks that moves on a daily basis to move flour to Zimbabwe, it means people of Zimbabwe will not have flour, may not have bread on the table. People who use gas to cook on a daily basis may not have gas to cook this side of the country. People who use fuel like all of us may not have fuel to move our vehicles. Had that unrest continued for a few more days, that was the implication of that reality we had to experience in July 2021 because of the blockage of the N3. What it means is that being dependent on one passage to move strategic commodities, it's a security risk for the country. So what it means is we must then learn lessons from what happened last time and then begin to diversify the supply chain channels and expand the value chains into the hinterland so that we are not dependent on one sources. If Durban closes, then the rest of the country goes hungry, goes dry, gets into darkness. So those are some of the things that we have seen, but also we have seen an emergence of exporters from out of the country who are beginning to look at supplying their products into Africa and South Africa through various other channels, because Durban was proving that it's unreliable and is a security threat, and other people wanted to move products through Kenya in Mombasa Harbour, in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, and some even in the Walvis Bay in Namibia, because Walvis Bay is improving its port. What that means is we're being excluded from opportunities if alternative routes are found to bring goods into the country. And this then should create an opportunity. Isn't that businessmen and entrepreneurs must see an opportunity out of every crisis? That's why they say in every dark cloud there is a silver line. So the business of the business people is to see an opportunity during the darkest period of our time. So we say this thing to ourselves because we want you to think creatively on how best can we do things differently. And we have been challenged as well as Limpopo, but Musina Makhado in particular, that countries in the continent have signed the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement. But then where are the projects to give full expression to that free trade amongst African countries? And we think if you look at Musina Makhado, because not only 14 countries in the SADC region finds expression at the Beitbridge border post, we think Beitbridge border post represent a melting pot of trade activity, wherein over half of the countries in the continent, in one way or the other, on a particular day, they must utilize that border. So we think we represent a full expression of becoming a free trade area in Africa, because Beitbridge border post is not only the second busiest port of entry in the country, but it's one of the busiest and the biggest in the continent. And if you are there and you do something proper, then you can represent the continent and the country better. As we move to the next slide there at the back. And in whatever we say here, we want entrepreneurs to see an opportunity. We want entrepreneurs to see a solution to our challenges. Here we're just making a point that our SEZ, as the map has demonstrated, is a two-in-one project. We've got the north side and the south side, and the next slide will explain what that means. On the north side, which we call it our small zone, which is in the town of Musina, we want to do these three things you see on your right: agro-processing, logistics, and general manufacturing. Many people do not know that every morning, and without fail, every morning, every single morning, after midnight, from 1, 2, 3, 4, trucks moves all over Limpopo, from Vembe, from Mopani, from Skukune. They take fresh produce to Johannesburg Fresh Produce Market and the Pretoria Fresh Produce Market. By 6 o'clock every morning, trade starts. And the markets close, I think, around 9. By the time the markets close, by 1 o'clock, the very same products that have been moved around there, some of them they are repackaged, some of them have been bought nicely, they are back on our shelves in our stores. You find them in Pick n Pay, Shoprite, Checkers, Spar, and everywhere else. They go there in the morning, they come back in the afternoon, and we consume them, and we pay for the money that was spent to take them there and to return them. And it's a reality, it's not a joke, it's a reality. So we say to the people of Limpopo, entrepreneurs in particular, that it is not a secret that the best quality fresh produce are found in this province. And it is many trucks from Limpopo that goes to Tshwane and Johannesburg fresh produce markets coming from here. So we want to take up that challenge, put up a massive fresh produce market so that we can join that queue of being the one that supplies them in the afternoon, not in the morning. In the morning, our farmers must bring their fresh produce to our market. We create a platform for them to sell their produce. Those who do processing, they process. Those who do packaging, they package. Those who do cold chain, they do cold chain. They move them anywhere else in the country. We move our products as far as Cape Town on a daily basis, fresh produce, by the way. I shouldn't just say Durban and Cape Town. We move them as far as Cape Town. So we want to put up a facility there that not only look at the country here in the up north, but also deal with the market in the up north, in the inland area, but also supply the region. Choppies in Botswana, every morning their trucks moves the fresh produce from Tshwane, from Johannesburg. They cross the border, they take them to Gaborone and all over Botswana. Our fresh produce, they are in the shelves in Swaziland every morning. The food you buy at Woolworths, they come from this province, they come from Vembe in particular. So we want to look at these things differently and stop talking and do something for a change. And that's why we bring in this concept of agro-processing, but starting with the fresh produce market. But also we want entrepreneurs to look beyond the movement of fresh produce and look at the tertiary production capacity of converting some of those fresh produce into various products that can be sold in the markets here in the country and in the export market. So there are many opportunities there within the agriculture space. And the beauty about that agriculture space is that opportunities will not only be created in the zone, but we will expand the production capacity of farmers because we will increase the demand for their products. And we will not be looking at big farmers that are always in the newspapers. We're looking at an ordinary farmer who can produce 20 grades, but make sure that by 6 o'clock is 20 grades of whatever products they are in the market. And they are sold, he gets his money, he's happy, and then we build an economy. I've already spoken about the logistics. There are many containers that passes through here in Polokwane that sometimes get stuck there in Musina for 10, 15 days. So, but we want to build you see, when we have got a logistics network and system and capacity, containers will not get stuck there in a bed bridge for several days. But also if we create that platform, we will then assist big companies that move these products in terms of enhancing their logistics, container terminals and all that to service them. On the general manufacturing component, we qualify manufacturing, we say general. General because we are a general dealer. Our plan is to produce anything and everything as long as people do not produce illicit drugs and other silly things. As long as people have got the capacity to produce products that can sell in the market, we are saying to you, come to us, we will give you the production platform. Come to us, we will help you, link you with the global value chains. Come to us, we will help you to look at how to expand your markets beyond South Africa. And in this case, we're flirting with a variety of sectors in the economy, including automotive industry. We want to produce vehicles there. We already have got a potential investor that wants to produce trucks and buses there. We're talking about producing components for vehicles, fertilizers, agrochemicals, petrochemicals and all that. Among the top 5 products that moves on a daily basis at that border, they include fertilizers, they include chemicals, they include machinery and equipments. So we think there is an opportunity to build that production capacity for such kind of products in Musina. And some of them, they are foreign important products that are assembled in the country and moved through the port. So this basically slides, I'm taking time here because it explains our business case, it explains the things that we do. And lastly, on your left, there is something called energy and metallurgy. This is a site where we've got the Chinese partners who wants to invest about 15 billion American dollars. Firstly, our initial plan was to build a massive coal-fired power station. The environmentalists said no. The world leaders said no to coal. Let's reduce carbon footprint and stop producing energy through coal. Then we've abandoned that part of the project. We are now focusing on solar. Our Chinese investors have now converted the investment that was initially meant for coal power station producing steel, stainless steel, beneficiating chrome into ferrochrome, ferromanganese, beneficiating vanadium. We also want to put up a processed lime there and build a lime a cement plant. And I've just learned recently that there are some black entrepreneurs here in Limpopo that have got a mining right for lime inside our zone. Therefore, we can operate a mining activity there to produce lime here and process it here, produce cement and other byproducts that comes out of lime. So this is where we talk of the so-called 150 billion rands of investment. And we have been stuck at this in this project for 2 to 3 years because of the so-called EIA. And I must announce here, as the Premier would have announced last week Thursday, that the EIA for our south side is finally granted. It's finally granted. What it means is now the show begins. The show begins, and it doesn't start far. The first project that we're going to be launching is this 1,000 megawatt capacity of solar energy. Once we produce that power, then we begin to roll out other related projects now that we've got cheap and sustainable power to produce steel, to produce stainless steel, and many other things that are supposed to happen there. So what it means is now with the approval of the EIA, the sky is the limit for the Musina-Makhado Special Economic Zone. The journey has begun. We spent the last 2 years trying to ramp up the north side because of the challenges we're experiencing on the south side with the EIA. So, but now they are going to be running parallel. We will be rolling out opportunities this side and the opportunities on the other side. And now those of you who watch the bulletin would have seen those opportunities have started to trickle in. We're spending over $500 million on the north side in installing basic infrastructure, water, sewer, electricity, internal roads and all that. These are the immediate opportunities that are available for the local entrepreneurs, and local means local, as it explained by law. So that journey is not going to start tomorrow, it has started already. So in the next month of April, once we have appointed some of yourselves to do the work that has to be done there, we will be going to the north side to do a symbolic launch of the MMSEZ, that finally this project is online this year. And this $500 million that I'm talking about is only for the north side, which is a small site. So if we are to unlock resources to prepare the south side to be ready, it talks to a multiplication of those resources that we are currently talking about. And part of, when we say north and south, north is because it's on the north of Musina. South is because it's on the south of Musina. and it's on the border between Musina and Makhado, that project that I've showed you here, next to the N1, and that is why our project is got a name and a surname, Musina Makhado SEZ, because it straddles between the two local municipalities. That is the story and the background behind the name of our project. Let's see what happens to maybe the next slide. I have given a whole lot of a background and context on issues that I think are material. Here is just a list of products that are the high moving products through the Beitbridge border post. And if you look at the top 10 products there, you'll see that are some of the things that I was talking about, which are moving there on a daily basis. There are over 1,000 trucks that passes through that border on a daily basis without fail. Out of those 1,000 trucks, over 200 of them moves petroleum products, and in a year they move over 6 billion liters of petroleum products. And the issue is, with these opportunities passing through us, are we too blind to see them? Yeah, we're trying to open our eyes and to see if we can capture them. Let's move to the next slide. Yes. We're saying here we've got a development approach, and I want to summarize this one for you in a minute or two. When we built the Medupi power station after 2000, it was said to be the biggest project ever after the arms deal in terms of size. And you remember Premier Moloto, Premier Matale, they all used to speak about the new city in Lephalale. Remember that? Where is it? You see. So over 150 billion rands has been invested in that small rural town. 150 billion rands. Now we know that ESCOM value is moving towards 170 now, isn't it? Medupi power station. Its value now is gravitating towards 170 and beyond. The intention in the beginning was that when this money comes in, it must in one way or the other touches the local people as it moves around. In one way or the other, it must touches the local economy in one way or the other. But me, having known Lephalale before 2000, having worked there, if you go to Lephalale, you'll discover that it is the same old Lephalale that was there before the arrival of 150 billion. Nothing has changed, except that Mukukos have increased. There are new informal settlement of the laborers that were coming from very, very far in KZN, in Lesotho, in Free State, in Eastern Cape, that were working there as laborers. When we finished with the decommissioning, the construction phase, they were unemployed and couldn't go home. They are now part and parcel of the social fabric of Lephalale, with the social problems that comes with a workforce that is on the streets. All that increase in Lephalale is high rates of crime incidents. Statistics on HIV and AIDS at some point used to shoot high at all material time. Poverty is increasing and all those kind of problems. So we're saying here that we don't want history to repeat itself. We want to do things differently, and that is why we start by planning. And I'll show you one slide on the amount of work that was done in planning and the amount of money was spent in planning. In 2010, when the construction of Medupi had been completed, that's when we as Limpopo government were finishing the so-called master plan on how to develop Lephalale. At that time, that money, I think we were over 100 billion. It was too little, too late. So, but with us here, that is why we start showing about a vision of a new city, so that whatever happens fits into that vision. Because it cannot be that 100 billion comes into a town, there's no new road, there's no new hotel, there's no new clinic, new school, new hospital, new police station, new this, new that. So once all those things comes and are aggregated, they should be able to take a shape of a new community that is characterized by improved quality of life. And that is why we say we want to take a big bang approach to do things differently from what we have seen happening. We're learning from history. In the past, a wise man used to learn from his mistakes. But the wise man of today learns from the mistakes of the others. And that's the approach we are taking. Let's move to the next slide. The next slide will talk about policy issues which are immaterial, less pass, which will be guiding the work that we're doing, because we're doing this work as part and parcel of the government work. Among the small few things that we have done as part and parcel of planning is we have completed the feasibility study on agro-processing opportunities. If you want it, is available. It's not a secret document. There is a resource there in Makado of timber plantation, which can be beneficiated in the SEZ by doing all sorts of things, producing all sorts of products, including furniture, for export market. We've looked at the logistics and the manufacturing capacity that is there. We now know what are the products that passes there at the bed bridge. We now know what is it that can be manufactured in Musina, because we've invested in planning. We've completed a feasibility study on putting up an SMM incubation center that will support small, medium enterprises, so that we do not focus on big investors at the expense of the local business people. We have done a study on Musina Dam. I will talk to it when the slides comes. We have completed the internal master plan for the north side. I will show you the picture of it in the slides to follow. We have completed an investment promotion strategy, global standards. We have also recently completed a study on minerals identification and a beneficiation strategy. We must know what is it that is available in Limpopo, because there are certain things that are here and we don't know about them. So we have identified them, we have packaged them, that report is available. If entrepreneurs want to do application of mining rights, they must come, we give the information, they will know what to find where. Strategic information system, a blueprint of how do we deploy the third industrial revolution, ICT capabilities to support that new smart city model. The smart city model, you've seen it. There's a problem of aircon here at Pagin, eh? Yes. Okay. They're running out of what? Gas or petrol or battery? Yeah, we can move to the next slide. This was just to show you of the work that has been done. We are showing you that slide because we have seen things in this country. Probably the picture in the middle there with the rail line, you've seen it on the news sometime last year, of people in Cape Town building on the rail line. We all know the picture there in the middle at the top between Alexander and Sandton. We have seen people being washed away by floods recently because people just wake up and build wherever they want to build. But also we've seen incidents of people working in silos, some going east, some going west, when they say they're pursuing the same goal. So we deal with that component of planning, primarily to eliminate those kind of problems, among others, so that over time we can then shift to the right, begin to have proper sustainable human settlement, proper housing, proper schools, proper living. Well, we've got a community that is characterized by that picture on your right. That's what we call an improved quality of life. People drive on proper roads to work, to school, in decent schools, they live in proper houses, and that happens when people have got employment opportunities. They wake up in the morning, they go to work, and they earn a decent income. Let's proceed. Here is what we call a basket of investment opportunities. We're saying further investment opportunities because I spoke about those clusters, metallurgy and energy, agro-processing, logistics and manufacturing. But here we're saying there's an opportunity for business people to invest in industrial infrastructure. If you come to us and say, I've got a client that wants a 10,000 square meter of a warehouse, we can give you that opportunity. We need an office space of anything between 3,000 to 5,000 square meters in Musina. If you come to us and say, I've got money, I want to build in offices, will you become a tenant? Why not? Logistics services. There are a whole lot of opportunities there to move products by road, by rail, by air. There's an opportunity for petroleum supply, but also I will speak to that component in detail. Those are the opportunities inside the zone. Let's go outside the zone. If I were to move into Musina, myself now as the CEO of Musina, and I have to move into Musina because I'm employed to work there in any way, I must have a proper place to live in. Whether it's a house or a townhouse or a flat, I need a flat. Somebody must build it for me and I must pay rent. Together with my team, if we're 50, then we've got 50 clients. So I already give you an opportunity. If you've got the capacity to build a real estate portfolio of 50 townhouses, here is a client that is available and ready to pay your rent. So service your bond and become a millionaire once that bond is settled. There are opportunities for retail there. You know, Venetia mine is growing. They've invested over $2 billion American to expand their operations, moving from a pit to sinking a shaft. There are tens and tens of professionals coming into Musina. Accountants, engineers, lawyers, artisans, all sorts of them. Some of them even comes from Australia. In Musina, there's no Woolies store there, if you were used to eating food from Woolies. There's no Woolies there, but somebody has to bring that food. Somebody has to bring that Woolies, and that can only be an entrepreneur. In Musina, it's a small town. Afterward, people they've got money, they earn a decent income. They must go to a restaurant, buy a decent meal, have a decent glass of wine before they go to bed. In the morning, they want to wake up and go to the gym. Where will they go? Over the weekend, they want to go to a place and dance with other people. Where will they go? So these are opportunities outside the SEZ that entrepreneurs must open their eyes and see them, if they have not seen them. In Musina, there is a big opportunity for hotels. There are thousands and thousands of people that crosses that border into South Africa. And you must never think everybody who crosses that border is poor people who are doing garden here in town. That is a lie. Very decent people. Actually, majority of the people who crosses there are proper people, decent people like you and I, who've got money to stay in a hotel. And they go to Johannesburg because they can't find those things here. But if they were to find them, they wouldn't go to Johannesburg. Schools. Those professionals, they come from very far. They can't travel every weekend to go take their children in the Eastern Cape, in Durban, in Mafeking, in Bloemfontein. They want to move into a small town with their children. Where will they go to school? Somebody has to think about that and see an opportunity. Before I talk about the airport, I must also talk about health. Nowadays, you know that middle class, all of us, we use private hospitals for this or that reason, because we can afford. So there's an opportunity there for an entrepreneur to provide that service and make good money. We're also working on a plan to expand these logistics capabilities from road, rail to air by rebuilding the Musina airport. And we want entrepreneurs to come and partner with government. Government will provide them the land, will give them the license to operate the airport. There are private citizens that flies on a daily basis between Musina and other towns using their own private aircrafts on a daily basis. There are people who comes from very far in Malawi, in Zambia, in Zimbabwe, goes to Johannesburg to fly to Dubai, to fly to Hong Kong, to Shanghai. But if you were to build an airport there that flies straight to Beijing, the market is there, it exists already. You know, it's far to move from Polokwane to fly at OR Tambo to Cape Town to go to Musina. Musina is 200 from here, Johannesburg is about 280. So, so those opportunities are quite massive. Entertainment, I already spoke about it. Let's move to the next slide. So these are the things that we want entrepreneurs to see. Let's move to the next slide. Here we're just briefing you about the issue that I spoke about of the EIA. It's a major breakthrough for us, but it doesn't end there. We must also share with you, many of you have read in the newspapers about environmentalists and all sorts of people attacking us that we want to pollute the air, we want to cut their baobab trees, who want to chase their frogs, who want to chase the birds and all that. There are people who believe that our people must starve for the sake of protecting a frog. There are people who believe that we must stop all these big opportunities to protect a particular tree of mubani worms, because that's all what we have, to eat mubani worms. And these people, they say this thing shamelessly. I mean, they say that they don't want this project because they think they will choose a tree over our people. They choose a frog over our people. And for me, that is an insight. When we've been told that, let's leave these big opportunities, let's prioritize a frog, let's prioritize this tree, let's prioritize this, let's prioritize that. And I think it's high time that you don't leave that battle to us as government officials. You must stand up and say, we want those opportunities, and let your voice be heard. We want to hear you supporting this initiative. In supporting this initiative, we are not saying we must negate sustainable development and distract ecology. No, we are not saying natural resources of flora and fauna must be tampered with. But the Constitution says we must strike the balance between the environment and the socio-economic needs and interests of the people. That's what the law says. Because nature exists to also support humanity to exist. So is humanity must coexist side by side with nature. But there can't be individuals who believe that they are the referees and the judges who must tell us how nature must be preserved at the expense of humanity. Do you know, if you look at the statistics, you go to Wembe, over 70% of the people in Wembe lives below the poverty line. 70% of the population then lives below poverty line. Go to statistics SA website. You will find that information. So our people must die because we must protect a mupani worm. Because some people believe that that's all what we have. I mean, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. But yet people all over the country, when is their time to demolish nature, to build these big structures you see all over the country, in Johannesburg, in Durban, in Cape Town? They even go to the marine. They go to the beachfront, they demolish there, they build expensive houses. And we shouldn't complain. But when it's us who wants to break the shackles of poverty and liberate our people, we told them no. So our people mutumrao. And I wonder if that can be fair. So we want to hear your voice in that space, articulating whether you agree that we must prioritize Wawa at the expense of the people. This 70% of our people that lives below poverty line. Let's move to the next slide. So after having achieved this thing of the EIA, there are certain things that must happen immediately. Now we've already started with the process of redoing EIA applications for specific projects, including this one of the solar plant. We must rezone that place. It becomes now a business industrial park. We must move our transaction with the community so that we package the deal on how to utilize that land. We must find the water. We must then begin to design the details of the master plan on how to put up the roads, electricity, sewer and all that. That's where the bulk of money will go in making the site ready, available for habitation by the investors. So very soon we will then be doing the second round of the launch of the SEZ. That's when we'll be launching the big site. That's the south side. Let's move to the next slide. Here we're now going to the north side, which I'd already spoken about. So this is just a picture of a dream of the future. Would one day want you to come to Musina and find things like those? Let's move. So here what we are doing is what I spoke about earlier of installing of bulk services. We're spending over 600 million there. We've already started. People would have seen those opportunities out there, and many more are still coming. And this is the beginning of our people really having first-hand experience and benefit of the opportunities that comes with the SEZ as we move to the next one. This is the internal master plan of the north side. What I want to share with you about this master plan is, you see where there's a yellow part, it's next to the river. We call it residential because it's not an area where you can build industrial sites, but we have designated that area to build middle income and high-end residential facilities, a golf estate of some sort. There's also an opportunity for a hotel there, there's an opportunity for a golf course. So it's a mixed development. That is why we speak of a small, you see, that site, once it takes shape, it becomes a seed that we plant to inspire the Musina town to connect into it, so that we then begin to have a new town, a new city rising. And because that place is small, the plans that we have, with the small money that we have of about 600 million, we would have done things that, if you have not been to Musina in a very long time, when you go there, you will be shocked yourself. You will see structures that you've never seen in the history of Musina. You will see decent, proper roads. You will see new offices coming out. You will see nicely fenced industrial park. You will see things that will begin to give you a sense that the smart city is beginning to take shape. So this is part of the planning that has gone into it, and it's very detailed, very professional, and we're not doubtful about the work that we have done. Let's move. And there's going to be a slide that is going to come. I'll talk to it, that also relates to that master plan. Let's move on. There are some challenges that we have to deal with, and that is not an exhaustive list of the challenges that are there, including the issue of the manpower. We have not succeeded to train sufficient labor and young people. If that industrial park was to start tomorrow, we'll have to run around the country looking for professionals, artisans, technicians, and all that. So these are some of the challenges that we have. Here in Limpopo, we're saying we've got this abundance of mineral resources, but we have not built the capacity to beneficiate them. And one of the things that is a living reality is opportunities for investment, for export, for import, for job creation. We are competing over them as provinces, as regions. The same thing that we want to do here, how do we want to do them? So is a Free State, Northwest, KZN, they've got their own SEZ, some of them even more than 2 in one province. So there's competition for limited resources, not only in the country, but globally. Even big countries want foreign direct investment because it comes with opportunities. Had it not been of the Chinese investment in the United States, they would not have discovered some of these technologies that they are enjoying today. Let's move to the next slide. Here we speak of what we call multiplier effects. The first one that I already spoken about is the smart city. We think that over and above investing our energies and monies inside the zone, there are these opportunities outside the SEZ that are going to benefit the community and everybody else. And here we mention one of the 2 projects, which is the smart city, which is a very ambitious big project, and the Musina Dam. Let's proceed, and I'll tell you about the Musina Dam in the next slide. So the smart city, basically, I think we need not waste time on it. We've seen a full video of over 10 minutes which explain the story. Let's move to the next slide. The next slide is the Musina Dam. Musina Dam is one of the ambitious projects that we have mooted in the recent past, because we need water there. We need water for these industrial activities that we're talking about. And as things stand now, there's no water available, readily available in Vembe. So we've then mooted an idea of what we call the Musina Dam. And this Musina Dam story, this is the Limpopo. Every year, every single year in December and January, without fail, for the last 100 years plus, the Limpopo River floods, with or without the rain in Musina. I don't know if you understand me. Every year, for the last 100 years, in December and January, Limpopo River has got massive amount of water passing there for 3, 4, 5 weeks. Whether there was a rain or no rain. Actually, if there's a rain, it becomes dangerous floods. That goes down and kills people there in Mozambique, if there is a rain, heavy rains. That happens, that natural phenomenon happens because water comes from the upstream from various tributaries that feeds into Limpopo. So the flow of Limpopo is not dependent on whether there was a rain in Musina or not. Let's leave that aside and go to the opportunity that comes with that natural phenomenon. What we want to do is we want to then take advantage of those floods and harvest that flood water. Harvest that water, and this green part is what we call the Sand River. Sand River is a tributary that feeds into the Limpopo River. It's a river that passes, when you drive towards Mokopane in the N1, when you are opposite the ranch, you will see a bridge, you will see a sign written Sand River. Sand River passes there just behind Polokwane, is the one that goes there next to the airport, and then it goes up to Limpopo River. So then there is so that part is the confluence where the two rivers meet. So we want to then harvest that water, which comes naturally every year, pull it into the Sand River and store it there, and it becomes a storage facility, it becomes a dam. But because that water is too much, and because that Sand River is big, we're likely to store massive amount of water, bigger than many other dams that you know of in South Africa, including the Vaal Dam, including the Hartbeespoort Dam, and few others. And if that happens, which is our ambitious plan, we then have got the Musina town being turned into a coastal town, something that none of us could have ever imagined. When we create new opportunities that are water-based, you know, the boats that you see in the water, it's an economy. The people build those boats next to the river, next to the dam. And I must also announce here that we have already completed a feasibility study led by May Mkateko here, Kopalale Metele Matso. She was our service provider to lead that team of professionals who produced a very detailed scientific report. We imported professionals as far as the University of Cape Town, who are specialists in various fields of engineering in the water space. And that report is the basis upon which we want the minister to take this project and list it in the National Water Master Plan, so that we can go out and look for investors to pump money into this thing of at the region of 20 billion rands and have this project. Once we've got this project, Vembe will never complain about water. The whole of Vembe. It will complement Namboni. It will also support other towns in the area of Blouberg, in the area coming towards Polokwane. We can bring water as far as Polokwane and Mokopane if necessary. We all know of the problems of water in this town. Let's move to the next slide. So these are the part of the ambitions that we have as we roll out the project. I spoke about the issues of skills. Many of you know that in Vembe there is what we call Vembe TVET College. So Vembe TVET College has been operating in Musina, primarily to support the SEZ and the industrial activity that is happening there, the mines that are there, and the other things industrial happening there. So they then said, no, this satellite campus, it's a makeshift structure of mobile classrooms. We now need a proper campus to train students. And they were looking for a piece of land, and municipality was offering them something else. And we said, no, municipality should not be going around wasting land for no reason. We've got enough land in the SEZ. That has got services, but that has got an industrial platform to connect the work of the TVET College and the SEZ. So now we're going to be building the new TVET College inside the SEZ. What that means is there will be a college inside the SEZ, produce professionals, artisans, and all sorts of technical people to work immediately inside the SEZ. Do their practicals there, and the two link up to each other. But you know the beauty about the college is, now you've got an opportunity of a new set of members of a new community by building a student town inside the SEZ where there's residential site. So now you've got a captive community living in decent facilities at the student town, not student village this time, student town inside the SEZ, going to school inside the SEZ, going to work inside the SEZ, and enjoying the quality of their life inside the SEZ. These are the ambitions that we have, and they are supported by our provincial government, and we think with your support, particularly in going to look for these investment opportunities. I want to hear somebody calling me and say, I have a deal with a development bank, African Development Bank, to give me $2 billion. I can build you a student town. That is an opportunity that is there. Forget about this one on the bulletin. Come build a student town. The opportunity is there, and the market is there. You know that when you build that student town, you guarantee business, not only you, but the children of your children, because for as long as the college lives, then you are a money maker. So these are the opportunities that we want yourselves as entrepreneurs to really focus your energies on. Not these ones of 3 months to build the culverts, then it's done. Then you come look at me and say, hey, when is the next one? When are you advertising? I will advertise, but they must give somebody else an opportunity as well. Let's move to the next slide. So as we prepare to launch, among the things that we want to do, one is we've completed the feasibility study for the fresh produce market. What we want to do is to build the structure, have the industry players to come and operate the fresh produce market. In the fresh produce market, you've got the owner of the structure, like the Tshwane one and the Johannesburg one. You've got the farmers that produce product on a daily basis. You've got the market operator who manages the operations of the market on a daily basis, and you've got the agents that sells products between the farmer and the buyers. So we will then put the structure, assemble this team of other role players, farmers, operators, and agents to come together and operate. So we as government, we don't go around selling cabbage. We provide the space for those who produce cabbage to bring it to the market, who sells cabbage to sell it to the client. That's what we're going to do. Regional fuel terminal. We now based with the feasibility study, we have identified an opportunity. I said over 1,000 of the trucks that comes through Bedbridge Parapos, over 200 of them are moving petroleum resources. Diesel, petrol, paraffin, grease, and oil, and all sorts of things. So we want to put up a massive storage facility so that we can move the product from the sea, the harbor, by rail, and store it in Musina. And those big trucks that comes from the DRC Congo and DRC Brazzaville comes and find a fuel there in Musina instead of going to Johannesburg and Durban. Cut the long journey short, we cut the cost input short, we cut the damage on our N1, that also will save us money. It will save Sandal money when we reduce those trucks on the road. And that is a solution that we think we must not be apologetic in bringing to our country. We've got an investor already that wants to participate in the automotive space by producing the trucks and buses. We've got an investor that is a South African who wants to produce the industrial chemicals. He's producing in Johannesburg, he's supplying mines all over the country and in the region, and he wants to bring it here so that he can easily penetrate the SADC market from the vicinity. I already spoke of the college. We also want to be investing money to connect the rail line that passes through Musina to our zones. Because we've got a rail line that moves from as far as Durban, Johannesburg, up to Musina, but also from Musina straight to Maputo. So in terms of logistics network, we're well placed. But what we want to do there is to put the connecting, enabling infrastructure so that wagons can be moved from the main line into the zone, out of the zone to the main line, and so forth and so forth. It's already siding and all that. So those are where we've been investing money. I already spoke about the solar energy that we'll be investing over $1 billion there to build a 1,000 megawatt capacity of solar energy. Let's move to the next slide. This obviously is the last slide, and we're asking you questions on how do we, together seated here, help each other to create entrepreneurship opportunities. And I think this is a question that we need to deal with for the purpose of this dialogue, but also how do we support those entrepreneurs? And in the process, who are the role players? Who must do what? So I think as we get into the dialogue, into the conversation, let's deal with those questions. I suppose the next slide should be my way of saying thank you, because I said a mouthful. Thanks.
Thank you very much, CEO, for that very comprehensive presentation. So now we're going to move to Q&A, looking at the questions that were posed. We believe that all of us have contributions. So we're going to go through the first round of comments, questions, inputs, and we'll take 5 hands, and so we'll respond to those, and thereafter we'll go for another round. We'll be guided by the number of hands that will go up. If I can please get 2 roving mics, rather 2 mics here, one that will go around and one for the CEO. Okay, by show of hands, can we see who wants to go first? Okay, I see one hand back there. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 to my left. Okay, we will start with the gentleman seated over here, and so we will move, we will end up this side. If you can just raise your, oh, okay, you are already up, that's fine. Can we get him a mic, please?
Morning everyone, and also morning to the delegates who are from my authority, and also use this opportunity to say thank you to the CEO to invite us. I'm Mayor Samuel from Musina. I'm the Secretary of Musina Chamber of Commerce and Industry, also the Secretary of Musina All Businesses Forum. My questions, Mr. CEO, deals with the issue pertaining the EIA approval, which you just mentioned from the part of the presentation that you're doing. The issue of the EIA approval, as you said before, it was delayed, and according to you, you said you actually we waited for 2 years because it is not your project, it is our project. We waited for 2 years. But you mentioned that opportunities were out, and the bulletin is also out there to show that there are opportunities. One might find it confusing to say, does it mean before the approval of the EIA, is it possible for the post to be advertised or the opportunities to be advertised? And then if you had to mention that the Premier should have said it, maybe on the SOPA, I'm not sure, in terms of the approval. At your slide there, it showed that the EIA was approved on the 23rd of March 2022. Today we are on the 2nd of March. We are 21 days far from the 23rd that the slide it showed there. So I'm not sure is it the technical errors or it is what or maybe it is the day of the launch instead of the day of approval. Because it cannot be and it can't be for something to be approved on a future date. So the issues are two. The first one. Come again. Okay, thank you. Yeah, the issue is that of the opportunities that were out before the approval. Thanks.
Thank you. Can we raise those hands again so that we can identify the colleagues again? Okay, there's another hand there.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. CEO, thank you. My name is Labdu Matembe. Thank you for the comprehensive presentation. I think it's a follow-up about the EIA. I might have missed, is the EIA for the dam approved? You talked about the feasibility study. Just a short question, thanks.
Thank you. Can we go to the gentleman seated there? Yes.
Thank you. Good morning. Mr. Simphatlele, I'm representing the show business quorum. So I've realized that CEO is trying very much to discourage us from speaking about issue of tenders. Unfortunately, I represent that constituency. So when we speak about such developments, there's no way that such issues might not arise. Issue number one, you spoke about the issue of Mudupi and what happened there. So we believe that that was a dereliction one. But because there's a significant amount of trust deficit between the people and the government, we are afraid that dereliction two is on the cards. Because we are told that no, we must not focus on issue of tenders. But this is a massive infrastructure development. And then as you are affiliated with government, obviously that infrastructure must be built through tenders. But then our question is that, is there anything that speaks to the empowerment of Limpopo in building this infrastructure? Because we don't see it, and we are here saying, when we speak about local, we're going to use the law. So the law says local, yes, it's national, but here we are speaking about Limpopo. Quite recently we saw that some of the laws of PFMA have been set aside. So now we are saying, let's have a deliberate empowerment plan that will speak to the empowerment of the people of Limpopo. And by doing that, we want to see budgets and the services that will be meant for the people of Limpopo. So that's the issue that we want to raise. As for the issue of smart city, ambitious as we are saying, so with the data costs and everything, for now we just use it as a pipe dream. But for the immediate, let's speak about infrastructure and how the people of Limpopo province are going to benefit. We really don't want to see Mudupi again, where people from KwaZulu-Natal will be swaggering there in their ranger buggies, while our people with the same gradings are sitting at home. So unless we've got that commitment, then we will support this thing full. Thank you.
Okay, can we get the fourth hand behind you, Mr. Mshwana?
Thank you very much. Thanks for the presentation, leadership. My name is Bifin Kwana from the Youth Business Forum. We represent the youth in business, and also we are part of the Limpopo United Business Forum. We've been following this project, Musina Makado, from the beginning of the draft environmental impact assessment report, to the road shows that were conducted for the stakeholder engagement. We even witnessed the cancellation of the third round due to the announcement of COVID. We do read these reports from Delta, and since now that we hear that there is just a final application and to the EIA, firstly, we would like to get maybe a report or a final report that speaks to us, youth in particular, women, small businesses in particular, how we are going to be included inside those opportunities, because we also hear controversial stories of the contractors are from are Chinese and they come with their own labor and they get their own incentives, tax incentives. So we just want to know, since we are also going to be part, are we also going to get those incentives as those contractors on site? And one of the struggles as youth is that we are still young. We don't have those financial muscle companies that we can say we can fit in the panel of contractors that were appointed for the construction of the Cinema Cabo. We are still young. We admit that we cannot even meet some of the IDC criteria in terms of manufacturing. So we focus more on the small business SME incubation programs. We've been coming to offices. We saw that you have went to Lubahomu. I don't know if that's temporary or what, but you have moved from here to Polokwane. So we are highly interested in the incubation part of this projects and into manufacturing, into also construction as well. We spoke to Ms. Chamano. She said you are still doing the strategies, the strategy plan on how you should be conducting the incubation programs. In terms of which clusters are you going to look at? So we are saying, leadership CEO, to please include construction as well, because of, as you can see, the budget in the province and nationally, there's more on infrastructure and construction as well. So we feel like we should also be part in terms of the project, not only manufacturing and metallurgy. Lastly, I would like to also say, leadership, please respond to our buyer requests, because we see that these investors and like the likes of RAL, the likes of De Beers, you can see that they are here. When you sign this memorandum of understandings and you see then the internet and everything, so you can get access to those memorandum of understanding. So we feel like as young people who are feeling more into, we want to read more on the agreements that we are signing on behalf of our province and the state as a general. We feel like we should be knowing, having access to these master plan reports, having access to these final reports. We just need information to equip us with more knowledge. So please, when we submit our buyer forms, our Promotion of Access to Information Act, in the public interest banner, please respond to our buyer request. We don't want to seem as if like we are rebellious or disorderly when we start to organize a march to say we don't have information on MMSEZ or no one is responding to us. Please just respond to our buyer request, leadership. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm going to read one last question from the online platforms. and thereafter we'll allow the CEO to respond. The question, or one of the questions says, what is the ownership model of the MMSEZ in terms of operations and maintenance? Is there any provisions made for locals? I will pause there and allow the CEO to take this round of questions. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chamano, and thanks very much for the questions and comments that have been made. And once more, welcome colleagues from Musina. It's good to have you in the house. Next time, these engagements will come closer to home. Yes. Some couple of years ago, we took an investment conference to Johannesburg, and we were accused, why do you take our project to Johannesburg? We're chasing capital. Capital doesn't stay here in Polokwane, no Messina, no Makati. It lives there in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. So we're chasing capital. And we're here in Polokwane today, not because this project belongs to Polokwane and its people, but because there is a constituency here in Polokwane, including these provincial structures, that also needs this information. And as I say, when we finish here, we're going closer to home, Makado. From Makado, we go to Musina. And it's not events, these things. They are continuous. They're an integral part of the life of the project. So we appreciate your being here. On the north side and the south side and the EIA. The EIA for the north side was granted in 2016 for the north side, Antonville. So there's never been EIA challenges on the north side. It was granted long time ago. The struggle has been about the EIA for the south side, Mopani, Bob Magiri, for the locals who know these names. So this excitement, it's about this second round of approval of the EIA. So the advertisement of the tenders that you saw are for the installation of bulk services in the north side in Musina, where the EIA has long been approved. I hope I've clarified that point, including the point of 23 March. Yeah, the only explanation is that the presentation was completed after midnight. So yeah, anything is possible during that time. My apologies for that. And that day, regarding the EIA for the dam, the Musina Dam, we have not yet entered into the space of conducting EIAs, because EIAs are going to be an integral part of the second phase of the bankability feasibility study, which is pending. It's pending because we're waiting for the endorsement of the project by the DWS as a strategic project within the National Water Master Plan, so that we can then begin to have the authority to reach out to the markets and the potential investors to support the project. So once that phase starts, it will include the EIA application for the dam. And that in particular, regarding tenders, I was not saying let's not focus on tenders. Tenders are out, there's nothing to focus on them. I'm saying let's focus beyond them. Tenders are out, they're there. Those who are bidders, they are busy bidding. And those who are lucky, they will be appointed following due process. However, my point is, tenders comes and go, but there is an opportunity for entrepreneurial opportunities to participate in the SEZ way beyond the tenders. I'm saying so because
There are people from here in Polokwane, from Gauteng, from other parts of the country. They go out, let me give an example with these ones from Mpumalanga. They went to China. They found a partner that manufactures certain products. They build a partnership. Then they came to us and say, can we produce our products in MMSEZ? So that's entrepreneurship. And these people are from Mpumalanga. They're not from Limpopo. They're from Mpumalanga. They say, we think because our market is in the region up north, we think we are better off if we are in Musina. Can we come and operate in MMSEZ? What do I say? I want investors. I say, come. And tomorrow it will be somebody from Eastern Cape. Day after tomorrow it will be somebody from the Northern Cape. Day after tomorrow it will be somebody from Western Cape. And I'm saying, why should we be dealing with people from far when our people are here and they have got the same capabilities as those people from Mpumalanga? Nowadays, you don't even have to take a flight to China. You can go online, look at the products you are interested on, send an email, they respond, and you tell them a story, they tell you a story, and you can even make a deal online before flying to China, before them flying down. So we say, our people, please, let's focus on the tenders, yes, let's build the road, it lasts for 6 months, it's done, you've got your profit. But entrepreneurship goes beyond 6 months, goes beyond a year, but also entrepreneurship is a way of creating wealth than a small profit in a period of 6 months. And we'd be very happy if one day our own local entrepreneurs are the ones that goes to Germany and brings German technology into the country, goes to America, brings American technology into the SEZ, and go all over the world. Look for private capital that is there. There's a lot of money in Europe for investment that can be sourced to come and bring some strategic projects inside the SEZ. But nevertheless, we will continue to support local entrepreneurs as it relates to the current opportunities on infrastructure rollout. You're correct, we won't be spending billions of rands on bulks, on public infrastructure, roads, water, electricity, schools, clinics, and all that. It is the responsibility of government to support local entrepreneurs, and there's nothing new about it. It will be just a continuation of that game. However, let's rise a little bit above those opportunities. And your question on entrepreneurship opportunities links with that one of IFI regarding how are we as the MMSEZ ensuring that we systematically integrate SMMEs into the life of the SEZ. We have not only completed a feasibility study for the incubation center, SMMEs incubation center, we have also recently completed a policy framework on enterprise development, which defines categories of beneficiaries that must have access to these opportunities, and it recognizes local people from Musina and Makado. It recognizes the landowners in Makado. It recognizes the people of Vende. It recognizes the people of Limpopo, and it recognizes the people of South Africa. However, in that recognition, there's a hierarchy that says, although all these people have got access to these opportunities, but priority should be given to locals within the context of local communities, the local region, but also the local province, being Limpopo. So that policy framework is available. You don't need Bahia to have access to it. And neither do we need Bahia to have access to any information that we may have. You know, once you activate Bahia, it means there's a problem. Somebody has denied you the information, and the question is why should somebody deny you public information? The issues of MOUs, they're there on the website where you talk about Delta reports. All our our MOAs are there. When we were doing the EIA, we had to load all that information on the website, and that information is fully loaded, is there. If there is a specific information that is not available there, please talk to us, and don't waste your money paying that 15 rands for per year as if there is a fight between us and yourself. There shouldn't be a fight, because you're entitled to that information, and we are committing that you will have that information. And there is a perception about rumors and allegations that Chinese are going to come into South Africa, into Musina Makhado, with a boat full of laborers. And these things have happened in other parts of the world. We've seen them happening in the Philippines, in other countries in Asia, East Asia. We've seen them happening in other parts of the continent, in North and Central Africa. We've seen those incidents. Even here in the region, in Zambia, we've heard of incidents of Chinese bringing their laborers to implement their project. But I want to tell you something about us and us being South Africa. South Africa is a completely different ball game when it comes to regulations of foreign skills. Importing of foreign skills. You know that there is a debate in the country about foreigners working in restaurants and in hotels. And we all know that all those things that are happening are not happening legally. People are acting outside the law. Because in terms of the law, some of the things that they are doing, they will not be happening. And it's even exciting that yesterday government announced a new process to regulate and enforce new regulations on how foreign nationals can participate in certain job opportunities. But I want to give an example with specifically with the SEZ. For the last 18 months, I've been working with the Chinese operators, operator of the South Side, to try and import 2 professionals that must get a work visa to come and work in Polokwane in Musina Makhado, where the project is, because they are the operator. Until today, in 18 months, I have not succeeded to get those work visas, because it's not easy. I'm talking professionals, not a pool of laborers in a boat or in a bus. Professionals who must come and manage the process. Until today, I have not succeeded. So I'm not talking of theory or a story. I'm talking of practical experience of me fighting with the mission, South African mission in Beijing, writing many letters motivating, even sending them pictures of President Ramaphosa and President Xi Jinping signing MOUs to try to strengthen my story. Because it's not easy. And it's a lie that here in South Africa you can just go about to China and put people in a boat and bring them here in Musina. It will never happen. And we want to assure our people that it's not part of our plan and it's not going to happen. The last question is about ownership model asked by a colleague online on whether there is an opportunity for the locals to participate in the operations. We've got 2 sites. This site on the north in Musina is operated fully by us as MMSEZ SOC, as Government of Limpopo. That's 1. 2, the south side, we've given it to the Chinese operators. A license permit has been issued in terms of the SEZ Act by the Minister of the DTIC. And that license is with them to operate. However, we're now working on an operational model, wherein now we talk of the day-to-day operations of the zone. And I must mention that none of us here in Limpopo has got an experience of operating an SEZ. We're doing this thing for the first time. It's trial and error, and some of the things we're trying to learn from others elsewhere, how they did it, but also we are the one and only SEZ in South Africa that has got a private operator. Not only a private operator, but a foreign private operator. So what we have done is unprecedented. We are the pioneers. We've got no frame of reference, but we have to rely on what the law says. We have to rely sometimes on what we think is in the best interest of our people and the government. So in an event where there was to be an opportunity for the involvement of the locals, especially in the management model, and especially for the communities that owns the land, we will have to go an extra mile to create such an opportunity. And as I say, there's no blueprint on it, and we're open to ideas and persuasion, and there is currently an ongoing discussion on us involving, especially the community of Mulamban that owns the land in the operations, but also in creating other opportunities inside the zone for their empowerment and wealth creation for their community. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, CEO. Let's give him a round of applause. We're now going to go to the second round of questions. I'm going to start this side. We will then move this way. Mr. Mahali, you are noted. We'll move there, and we'll move there. That will be the fifth hand. Oh, the fifth hand will be here. But maybe before I go to you, Mr. Matlo, let me also start with a question that came online again. It's from Elevator Express. It says, EIA released under the water specialist report stated that the Sand River does not have enough water as it has overexploited. I think you meant to say if it was overexploited, as it was overexploited, and getting water from the Zove dam in Zim will be challenging. Where will the water come from? I think this was touched on when we spoke about the dam, however, we can reiterate on that point. Let's go to Mr. Matlo.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm from the media in Jubimatso, specifically from SABC News. The first question, Mr. Masoga, I was a bit uncomfortable that you were treating the issue of EAA in a trivial manner, reducing it to the issue of protecting frogs. My understanding is that the EAA is part of the environmental policy of the country. It's so central to a whole lot of developments that we undertake that EAAs must be conducted. My second question, I want to piggyback on the Chinese. There were media reports that some of the Chinese investors, one or them, was persona non grata in Zimbabwe because of unfinished business there. And I can't remember the details, but I can always get those details, who that investor is. And it was reported in the media that that investor was going to be part of this project here. But I also want to share with you an anecdote on Chinese labor. If you take the Kalamba city in Luanda, the Agostino city in Luanda, which was built around 2010 to 2050, it was built by prisoners. So in essence, the Chinese, when they tender, the most expensive component of the business plan, which is labor, is zero, because they're using prisoners. So there is grounds for people in Limpopo to be concerned that if you're going to bring Chinese investors, how will it impact? Because we have a big problem in terms of unemployment and youth and unemployment and opportunities in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we move to our right here? Here at the front.
Thank you, Program Director, most competent CEO, and my colleagues in this room. Mine is going to be a little bit different, but as we are invited, all of us, we are participating differently. My name is Reki Makhalembele, CEO
and stakeholder relations of a company called Blue Crane UAV, that is unmanned aerial vehicle, simply called drones. We are actually contributing to the fourth industrial revolution. And this company is based here in Limpopo in a humble town called Zanin. Here with the presentation that the CEO has presented, I'm very excited because I see opportunities. Now, as invited guests for this session, my focus, and if I can appeal, is to see the opportunities that are presented here. So Blue Crane, to be short, I'll just give you the quick synopsis because it's going to be telling to you when you leave this house, this room. We have got two ladies that we have been trained as chief pilots. Our company is registered with South African Aviation Authority. We are the only company in this province with that license. We have got two young ladies, black, young, between the age of 23 and 27, I think, 27. She's from Moleji. We are now interviewing 4 pilots that we have taken for operating this magnificent high-tech drone. Our cheapest drone is 500,000, the most expensive is 3.5 million. And when this opportunity was presented of coming here, and after the presentation of our CEO, I see an opportunity. Our drones are doing quite a lot of things. On the slide, he mentioned the supply of blood to far-flung villages, and Rwanda is in the advanced stage doing that. Ours here, with partnership with the Musina Bakari Economic Zone, is to do more than that. So to you, CEO, and my colleagues, is opportunities are here. Tenders, yes, we must tender, and we must ask, why can't we get opportunities? But as he said, can we go beyond that? And our company is prepared to even engage further with all of you here. If you've got a child that is interested in being trained, because that is the way to go, more the fourth industrial revolution. Please talk to me. Yes, I'm promoting myself, but at the same time, but at the same time, when you've got a child that needs to be trained, I mean, say he's 26 years. Fortunately, so I can even say, we're paying her 25,000 rands. She's from Moleji, for heaven's sake. So I'll have an opportunity as CEO to do more with you and the colleagues, but this is what I'm saying. I like what he has said. Can we go beyond the norms of tenders? I think it was a tender session we have put them up. But I think this is the quality of what Mr. Makad wants. Let us see beyond, the tender session. I appeal with all of us here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Makadimele. Next, the two gentlemen there.
Good afternoon. My name is Rufuno Ramiada from Musina Youth and Business Forum. Just wanted to touch base on a couple of things where you're starting to build solar plants. Yes, you're starting to build solar plants. Are we getting to get opportunities to get into partnership? What is your partnership plan, firstly? Secondly, what is your educational plan? You spoke about a lot of things that we're bringing into. How do we benefit as not employees, as owners of businesses? We also want to partner up, as I'm in the solar business. How do we get involved? Again, not as workers, as partners. You spoke again about OEM opportunities. Now, we can't afford to start buying these land to start off. Secondly, to start bringing all these plants, building these solar farms. Now, again to my other follow-up, where you spoke about we need to start building the real estates, we need to start building hotels and so on and so forth. We can't get money from the banks. Secondly, do you guys have a funding plan in terms of how are we going to get access to the market? You know, as a youth guy with a plan, everything that is on paper, and I want to participate, you're saying the bracket is too small for me. Now I need to what? Fall into the tender bracket. Because we are entrepreneurs, but we don't have the access to money. So what is your plan? And thirdly, we spoke about TVETs and so on. Yeah, those are for what we call technicians and what's the other word? Artisans. Now you invited people from Western Cape to come do research about dams and so on in Messina. Did you guys look for guys in Messina with that opportunity? Did you advertise it? Now, seeing that you don't have people in Messina with those opportunities, if you got to it, what is your plan besides making us artisans? Do you have plans to take kids with those opportunities to school from Messina? And yeah, lastly, again, we're talking about bringing companies from Germany, bringing companies from China and so on. You know, we see it in mining, where they bring all these equipment and so forth, and when they break, we need to get them to come back, to come and fix it. You know, and that's where I wanted to ask, what's your OEM plan? Was just say, we're gonna bring a company from Germany, come situate here, and then we just get parts from them and we work as managers. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have the second last question.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mamatiane Lawrence Ramogale. I'm a member of Limpopo Chamber of Commerce under Capricorn region. Let me welcome the presentation by the CEO. I think some few weeks back, we just saw and heard what was happening about SONA and SOPA also. As young people, we are very much concerned about the unemployment, poverty, and inequality in this province. Knowing very well that we have Messina Makhado Special Economic Zone, we have a confidence in our government that this will eradicate unemployment, poverty, and inequality. So we also want to check about the business opportunities for startups, because most of the time you find that there are jobs or the projects, only big companies qualify for those. What about the SMMEs, particularly those who have just started the businesses? Do you also going to consider them? That is the question. We spoke about the agro processing. We have been going up and down to such an extent that we are very much fortunate, realizing that we have #1 company in the world here in Mopani, under Limpopo province. Westphalia fruit is #1 company in the world in terms of the avocados. When we talk about the markets, we see the trade or the goods that always go in that side. And we think those who have just started will not get that opportunity. Can the big companies like Westphalia make a collaboration with the startups companies to ensure that they groom them so that they can grow? Because if we can just start by ourselves, we will not go anywhere. Because we have already went to Westphalia, we made the presentations, but we are still here after 5 years. And also, when we check the visibility study for agro-processing, we must know that in Limpopo we are a very rural province. So can we also consider those young people that are in disadvantaged areas down in Vembe, down in Mopani, and other regions. Because right now we are here in the city of Polokwane, but those who are disadvantaged, they don't have any network or any access while we are in the fourth industrial revolution. How does our government particularly make sure that those who have potential but are unable to come to Polokwane and don't have those things that they can see via the Zoom are also counted in? I think we still have a lot of work to do before we go further in terms of our young people so that they can be empowered. I think we will need 3 to 4 days because we have a lot of issues that we want to raise. But due to the time of constraint, let me just pause here and acknowledge that thank you very much for the opportunity for our young people in Musina. We will come down there. We are here in Polokwane, but we will come in Musina to ensure that each and everything that has been presented here outside and inside the zone, we also make the follow-ups. As the President, Ramaphosa, indicated that the private sector is the sector which has to hire the people. We acknowledge that and we will hire people, provided we also be given the opportunity. And also those who need the financial assistance from the government agencies, can they also withdraw the criteria where they say they need the collaterals or the securities? Because someone who's just started the company will not go to the government agencies looking for assistance if he or she has the financial muscles. I think I will pause here. Next time, please prepare 3 to 4 days so that we can engage further. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's noted. Can we have the last question here, and thereafter we'll get responses.
Thank you so much to the CEO. I am Thabambo Hopa, representing young professionals under the BMF. So I just picked 2 things which I'm interested in. The issue of SMME incubation and support for startups. At least, CEO, I was happy that we no longer have to travel to Durban, Gauteng, and Cape Town in order to showcase our innovations. At least Limpopo innovators will showcase their innovation here at home. However, it's going to be a challenge understanding from the presentation and the 2 videos if the incubation starts after inception. Those who understand how Chinese work, the Chinese can copy anything anytime. If you come with an innovation today, they can have a replica of your innovation within 24 hours. And if they are the investors, they have the masculinity, financial masculinity, it's going to be very difficult for us to die. And another thing maybe just to mention, they can just call innovators to say, come, we have the MMSEZ innovator, maybe call for support. They listen, they take 3, they steal 15 other ideas. It's going to be a challenge to see us dying of hunger as our ideas were stolen and patented elsewhere. So my humble plea is that I will title it inclusivity through proactive outreach. Starting from today, Mr. CEO, Ndate please go and look out for all the Limpopo innovators. I was very impressed when I heard the innovation about the drones that side. It means we are growing as a province. Go out there, look for all the innovations that are emerging from Limpopo. We have them competing. Mine was adopted by Tshwane and Johannesburg municipality just 2 weeks ago. So look out for other innovators from Limpopo. Number 1, give them support in terms of the technology readiness level, verification. Number 2, also compliance. It doesn't help that when the SEZ and the smart city starts, I have the best innovation, but my technology readiness is still 7 steps behind. We won't take it. But if before the inception you start identifying that, okay, Thabang's innovation needs this and that support, we could assist in this and that way. That would assist in terms of readiness, that when the smart city and the MMSEZ starts, you would have 1 or 2 innovations which are proudly Limpopian. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And congratulations on your innovation. CEO, can we have response, or rather respond to that round of questions? Thereafter, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chamano, and thanks very much to the colleagues for the comments and the questions. Let's start with that online comment about the EIA and water. The commentator there is correct. Generally, the Vembe region is a very dry area, compounded by drought. It makes the situation even worse. And as you all know, the issue of water is a challenge for the whole province and some other parts of the country. So we are alive to the fact that there is a problem of water in Limpopo and in South Africa. But the issue is to find creative ways to solve that problem. Hence, earlier on I was speaking about the concept of Musina Dam, new innovation, creativity, finding complete new sources of water outside the conventional way of sourcing water, either underground or using the existing water resources. So we're exploring a number of options, which among them includes Zove and other water sources across the border. We would want to be given a chance to really look into those options without being told that that one is expensive, don't do it. That one is unrealistic, don't do it. We have to firstly satisfy ourselves technically, whether it's technically viable to import water across the Limpopo River, that's one. Two, financially, whether are there resources to support such a cross-border water transfer scheme. And just to share with colleagues as well, we have already, for an example, been approached by an international company that has been doing work in Zimbabwe for many years, developing water resources. And it says it's got the capacity to deploy its own resources and move the pipe across the Limpopo River into Musina. If we, as the South African government, we're ready to sign an off-take agreement for that water and to stand surety. So those are the options that are available. If we succeed to build the Musina Dam, we would have solved that problem. What we have said to our people during the EIA process is that we will not abuse the already abused underground water. We will respect that. But also, colleagues may not be aware that with the existing dams in Vembe area, that comes across as oversubscribed in terms of water allocation. There are water allocations that have been issued a long time ago given to farmers who were farming crops. Those farmers converted those farms into game farms, and they're no longer using that water for crops. And those allocations are lying idle elsewhere. So there is an underutilized water allocations in the existing dams, and we want the department to zoom into that space and do an investigation and find out whether there is a possibility for us to source that water, whilst we're exploring other options, so that the MMSEZ does not create problems on the existing problems. On the issue that they on trivializing the EIA, if we look down upon the EIA process, we would have spent 3 years toing and froing to try and comply with the law up to this far. We have invested a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of efforts, a lot of various other resources into arriving at where we are in terms of this EIA. EIA's conception emanates from the Constitution before it can go into the National Environmental Management Act. The Constitution prescribes to us as government as business, as society, that we have to respect the environment in whatever we do, so that we do not promote a development that takes place at the expense of the environment. The whole conceptualization of the EIA starts from the fact that says every single development is going to affect the environment. The issue is, how do you minimize that impact on the environment? That's where EIA comes in. Every development, how we go villaging Wahamukuku when you stand, on other side clearance, you are damaging the crops there. You are damaging the environment. The issue is, how do you minimize such an impact? There are people in our villages who build new houses in wetlands. Wetlands are pristine areas, they're not supposed to be tampered with. But we do that all the time. But if we're doing development at the scale at where we are, we're moving from a premise that nature is in trouble, the environment is in danger. Then you bring the EIA to say, how do you minimize the potential danger of this development on the environment? In doing that, how do you balance the interest of the environment and that of the socio-economic needs of the people? So I'm saying we've spent 3 years investing in time, resources, and everything else to navigate through that minefield. And it hasn't been easy. We've made a lot of sacrifices along the way. We have abandoned a 70 billion coal-fired power station in respect of nature, so that we don't contribute in the carbon footprint of in our country and contributing to the climate change. We have reduced our development from 8,000 hectares to 3,800 because we wanted to protect the environment. There are some areas that were said to be ecologically sensitive, we said remove from our plan, so that we can go to specifically areas that we think we can mitigate the damage. We committed ourselves in the EIA that we will go all out to find the world-class technology that can minimize the impact of pollution that will emanate from that heavy industrial park that can contribute into climate change. We have gone miles and miles and miles in reaching out to the environmentalists, to the community members who have raised concern. Part of the reason why it took us these 3 years, this EIA, is because at every step of the way, when we submit the final report, we go to public participation. Community members raise concerns and blind spots and say, you have not taken care of this. You have not taken care of this. They say, they come to us, they say, do you know that there is a frog that is breathing there? We say, we didn't know. Do you know that there is a bird, Mankakanyan, that is breathing there? We say, we didn't know. They say, go investigate. We appoint specialists, they go there, they investigate that frog, they investigate the bunny worms, they investigate the bird, they investigate everything else. We come back with the report, they say, no, let's leave the frogs aside. Do you know that there is this specific plantation that is growing on this farm? We say, we didn't know. Do you know that there are power lines here which flies above the beds that can interrupt that? We say, we didn't know. They say, no, go investigate. We stop. We go and investigate. That is why we spent 3 years doing all these things. We could have been irresponsible and arrogant and say, hey, to hell with the frogs. We didn't do that. We spent money in appointing specialists to investigate all these things that have been identified up to today. We're in the border. We are developing a comprehensive security plan, which among them we're going to need the drone technology to monitor the border, to monitor the movement of both legal and illegal people in and outside our zone. So that technology for us, it represents the future. We're currently looking at a system that could integrate all our activities so that even when you are in your own warehouse, and when we're there, we say you are operating a zone, we know who's doing what where, who's consuming water where, how much electricity. If there is a pipeline that is best where, it's able to be identified instantly and fixed. And we are able to use technology to know. During this day, there's been a number of vehicles and trucks entering our premises and out. We are able to identify security threat using all that technology. So we want a system that is integrated. That is what we saw there on our video about how we visualize the future. And we want colleagues to really be partners in that space. Bulufuno, you raise very valid point around the partnership, around the skilling, around the funding, and the OEMs. We do not have a mandate to provide funding to entrepreneurs. It's not part of our scope. However, we are reaching out to fraternal development finance agencies to say, we know that there are entrepreneurs who are black and poor with no solid balance sheet that we're going to work with. Can you be here close by us so that when they've got an opportunity, you can immediately help them to execute certain projects? This incubation center we're talking about, it responds to what Thabang was talking about. It's going to be an innovation center of excellence. That's where we want to put young people into the laboratory to test their ideas. We're going to give them the instruments, the 3D printing machines, all sorts of technology, give them the mentors to assist them to discover their full potential in terms of innovation. So, and that's where we also want to bring in this development finance institution to be closer to us. We want CEDA, we want CIFA, we want the IDC, we want them to be there in the SEZ, because there will be a lot of an economic activity that will need funding from those development institutions. And on the issue of the OEMs, what we are appealing to you as entrepreneurs is, please help us to go find the OEMs to bring them into the zone. When they come there, they are your partners, not our partners. What we are saying is, go find partners, go find OEMs. We will give you the platform to do production. And that is why entrepreneurs are investors, and investors are entrepreneurs. So we're appealing to you, when we look at you, we don't see anything else but potential investors as entrepreneurs. So we're saying, help us to go get this technology, to go get these opportunities and bring them into the SEZ, so that already the issue of partnership comes in locked. There's no discussion between us and your partner. It's your partner, it's your business, it's a done deal. All what we do is to support you to operationalize your project and run. And the same applies. We will go an extra mile in supporting the youth with skills. Hence, we're talking of an incubation center and a college simultaneously. It does not end there. We are also exploring partnership with foreign countries, including Germany, including China, to take young people from Limpopo. They must be trained there in those countries, to take experts from those countries to come here and train our youngsters here. So that there is that flow of information. I'm sitting here, next to me is a school principal to an University of Technology, Dr. Chamano. We're partnering with the university because we want the university also to become a feeder in terms of producing qualified, competent professionals that can participate in the SEZ. And his presence here next to me is a demonstration of our commitment to reach out to stakeholders in terms of skills development. And we're very thankful that you're here, Dr. Chaman. I suppose the program director will give you an opportunity to make some remarks. And Dr. Ramran, issue of startups. There are many other government institutions that are responsible for that factor. But you see, when entrepreneurs comes to us as entrepreneurs and says, I've got an idea here, I want to be assisted in this way and that way, it becomes practical and easier. Unlike when an entrepreneur comes and says, I want to bid for this tender but I don't qualify. That is tantamount to say, Mr. Masoga, can you relax the rules for me? Or can you tender with that tender for me? And I can't do that, I'm unfortunately sorry. I can help you to nourish your idea, to support you, to link you up with people who can support your idea. But don't ask me to manipulate tenders, please. Don't do that. And the problem with tender is that tenders are highly regulated activities of business opportunities in government. There are specific rules that are set there, and those rules are non-negotiable. You can't want to come to my house and say, can we adjust the criteria? You can't do that. because the rules are there set. For example, when they advertise a tender and CIDP says, according to our grade in this project is grade 8 or is grade 9, you can't negotiate it out. You can't go to Masoka's house at night and say, can we reduce it to grade 6 because I'm not there yet. You can't. But if it's an idea of a project that has got no this entanglement of government rules, it's a creative idea from an entrepreneur, we then say, how do we then find other partners who can work with you? How do we then find potential development agencies that can finance this idea? Then it's a completely different ball game altogether. And that is a space where we want you to participate. For example, if you come to us and say, Westphalia wants to come and produce in Musina, but Westphalia says we must build a warehouse, then you're my friend. Because I will go to the SEZ fund and say, SEZ fund, we need a 10,000 square meter factory floor to produce a juice with Westphalia. They will not hesitate to release that money to support you. You see the difference. You bring a partner to us, you say, Westphalia has given us conditions to work with them. They say, because they've invested in Polokwane and in Zanin, if they come to Messina, they don't have money to build a factory. Can you help us with building a factory? You'll make me very excited, because I will run to the DTIC, go to the SEZ fund, and ask for that money to build that 10,000 square meter factory floor for you. And you become a partner of Westphalia, way outside the tender, way outside us negotiating a deal for you, but you're negotiating a deal with a potential investor. And the same applies to many other industries in the province. For an example, the colleagues from Musina, we are bringing almost R1 billion of investment in public infrastructure there. We're going to be building dams, we're going to be building, reservoirs, pipelines, we're going to be building roads. You should be telling us that you already have got a partnership with a supplier of a pipe, and you want an opportunity here to supply this pipe. You should be telling us that you've got an opportunity to provide window frames for anybody else who's bringing human settlement development, because those are entrepreneurship opportunities that we can easily support outside these tender processes, because it's easier, but it's also doable. For example, if there is a contractor appointed on site, you say, I think I can supply this contractor with PPE. I'm just giving an example. It becomes easier to say contractor, but here is a local guy who's got a solution. Can't we please support it? Then it becomes a clean transaction outside tender process that are heavily regulated, that I've got no control over. You can scream and kick about tenders, it's okay. We will advertise them for you. We will share with you that information, but I can assure you, none of us seated in this room has got the power and the capacity to change the regulations. You'll have to go to National Treasury, or how I advertise. Why advertise is to suit your conditions. But even when they suit your conditions, competition is very high when it comes to tenders, especially when it's a small one. You will find that we've got 200 bidders and we only need one. Yes, that is the problem with tenders, because all of us need those opportunities. When you advertise a small tender, apply about 15, but apply about 200. What do we do? We've got a database now of engineering panel. We're sitting at 173 companies, and we said we are opening it deliberately, because if we do these things that department do, of having a panel of 15 and 20 engineering firms, how many engineering firms do you have in Limpopo? It's a lot. But also engineering firms do not have borders. They come from as far as Gauteng, as far as Mafike, and you can't close and say Mafike, you are not allowed. But we have deliberately and consciously, we are the first people in this province to open a database that big. 173 engineering firms. Some they complain, they say, but why are we not being called to bid because we are on it? Because we give people an opportunity bid by bid. Every time there is an opportunity, we open for a small group, they compete. Feta, small group, until they face that 173. Whether it's okay or it's not, it may not be okay for you because maybe you are sitting at 120. It's going to take us 3 years to get to you. But the fact of the matter is, we are committed to doing the right thing, but also we are committed to opening the doors of opportunities for the benefit of many people. And if we can't do that and close that small doors, we know we'll be guilty. of sidelining people. We know that our people here in the province are disparate, and we know that the competition is very high. They're competing with people who've got a lot of experience from Gauteng and wherever in the country. And we try to open up for them so that when such opportunities exist, they can benefit. And it's a commitment that we are unwavering on it, and we want your support. In some areas, we may get it wrong, but please feel free to talk to us. And you must know that we're not getting it wrong because we are obsessed with getting things wrong, or we're obsessed with doing things the wrong way. But it's because when we are obsessed with working too hard, you are bound to make mistakes. It takes a person who's working to make mistakes, and we will make those mistakes. And we say, be in the know that we're making those mistakes because of our zeal and commitment to do the right thing. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, CEO. It's been quite a marathon since this morning. I see two hands. I'm going to allow those two hands, and they'll be the final hands because we need to move on. At least the communication channels are open. We can always engage outside this session. We are here for you. I'm going to allow those two hands. Thereafter, we'll move on with the program. We'll be going to the next item, which will be by Mr. Jeleni. Mr. Mbulungeni, you can go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. Mine is quite short. I wouldn't want to repeat some of the things that the people said, but I would like to really make use of this opportunity because I came here on the pretext that this is an information session and probably a dialogue, maybe not a debate, maybe not a situation for arguments. But I want to get some information. I've heard what Ms. Namakode said, the presentation, and I've got a couple of questions. Who is this Ms. Namakode SEZ for? Who are the beneficiaries? If you talk about billions and billions of rands, that sounds like money. And I think entrepreneurs are doing entrepreneurship because they want to make money. I represent an organization that represents business people. My name is Ntini Lunguru from Tulane Business Forum. I am heartbroken, seriously heartbroken. I want people who represent business organizations to please stand up. Please. Those who represent business organizations, please stand up. Please stand up. I want to hear from the Senior Makade SEZ. Are you satisfying the needs of these people? I've heard the questions, I've heard the responses. They are not satisfied. They don't know how they're going to make their members benefit from Messina Makado SEZ. Continuously, you point to other institutions to say, these are the guys who will help you there, these are the guys who do this. But on the other hand, we're being pointed to go online, call other investors. We're being told, get into a plane, go and find an investor. When are we going to be made to develop ourselves so that we can be our own OEMs? I want to hear if there's a program in place that will make the members of these organizations be able to produce basic things like toothpicks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ngwane, do you still want to? Okay, that will be the final hand for the afternoon. Thank you.
Greetings once again. My name is Biffin Kwana from the Youth Business Forum, also member of the Limpopo United Business Forum. To me, it's just leadership. We are going to support the delegation to the Provincial Congress, and we are seeing the autonomous of our let us not focus on politics. Just comes to straight to the Messina Makhado once again, the SEZ. It is painful to hear leadership saying that I cannot adjust or adjust the regulations. If the regulations are like this, they are like this. If it's competitive, it's competitive. But knowing that there could be a meeting us halfway where there is a database for SMMEs where we can do a thorough feasibility study, leadership. I'm saying this because of when you say there's a hierarchy of locality or beneficiaries, I don't think that is part of the preferential, the public preferential policy framework. But let me just say it was just, you were just saying because of strategically not trying to be political. But if we were to say, who is the local person? Who is the local people? Who are the local people? Can you say someone from Polokwane is equal to someone from Messina? Are they all local people? If this is a national project, if this is a provincial project, can you say provincial residents are local residents? Or does it have to cascade down to the ward where the SEZ is based on, where we say we prioritize at that ward or that district leadership? I don't want to be unpopular to our leaders from Messina and the Vembe district, but I'm just saying it is a problem because this is not the only SEZ that we are facing. Even the Kukuni SEZ, the Duwati SEZ, we are facing that, where they prioritize the Kukuni district database. And it's not part of any legislation where there should be a district database. Maybe there is, if you can clarify me. But it disadvantages some of the members from other districts as well. So when there is a hierarchy, is there any legislation where we can do a reference to that? And please, leadership, make some effort to really prioritize our people in Limpopo. We thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll have a response to that, and thereafter we shall move on.
Thanks, Program Director Memaguya. You will also afford Dr. Chamanu here an opportunity before Mr. Jeleni to make a few remarks. The point you're making about locality, it's a very important but very sensitive question. And it's a question that cannot be ignored. And it's a question that calls for treat with care kind of an engagement. When you deal with it, you can't be adventurous. I'm saying so because you're caught up between reality and the law. You're caught up between reality and the law. When we built the Peter Mukaba stadium here, who are the locals? Is it the people of Ward 20 where I come from in Flora Park, where Peter Mukaba stadium is? Is it the people of Ward 21 across the road in Ivy Park? Is it the people of the other side of town in Nirvana, in Ladana? Is it the people of Muleju who lives in Polokwane municipality? Is it the people of Mangwe? is it the people of excuse me, Ramatlal? And it's a question it gets asked to you. But what makes things worse in Sikukule SEZ and the Musina Makhado SEZ is with the few years that I've spent in this project, there used to be people in Vembe who believe that MMSEZ, Musina Makhado SEZ, is a vendor project. Project Dama vendor full stop. Because Musina Hudula vendor, Wavenda, Makhado Hudula vendor. And we proved some of them wrong because they forgot about facts. They forgot that Musina is not a Vavenda city, Musina. So is Makhado, it's not a Vavenda city. Nalaba pedi amanji ko Makhado. The same applies for Musina. Musina is a no man's land. You find everybody there. People who are born there from a pedi father and a Tsonga mother or a Venna mother. And they are people of Musina. If you want to redefine them, you do it at own risk. If you go to Skukune there in Feta Homotugas, we've got people who believe strongly that that SEZ Kiava paid and Kiava Navali one. The same way that they used to believe that there shouldn't be a vendor working in the Skukune district municipality at some point in life. They used to say, if you've hired a manager and he's Tsonga, they say, but Uchakayo, Unyakamu. Those things used to happen. But I can tell you all these things are a recipe for disaster. I said in one political meeting briefing the politicians in a Wembe district municipality, and the councillors were saying the same thing, politicians, that this thing belongs to us. And I asked them, who is us? At that time there was a mayor who comes from another municipality, not in Musina, not in Makhado. And I said to him, Mayor, do you know that in terms of locality, as per the definition of it by the people of Musina and Makhado, you are not a local because you come from another municipality, not Musina, not Makhado. Do you know that if there were to be opportunities, then you can be excluded yourself as a district there? Because the people of Musina will say, Uchakayo. So are the people of Makhado. So it's a very sensitive matter, let alone the law on the other side, which says locals is South Africans, by the way, including Chinese. And it's not me, it's the law. I think they won that case in the court of law. Now people went to the Concord. They won a case against a Preferential Procurement Policy Act. They won. Now PEE is not there. It's not me. It's the Concord. And you can't blame me. And now the definition of the law, this actually is the second case. It says local. But because we are human beings, we leaders, we're conscious of the realities of life, we have to deal with these matters in such a way that we don't create problems for ourselves. And many countries in Africa have been torn apart by this concept of balkanization of opportunities, regionalism, ethnicity, and all that. Because when opportunities comes, people start remembering that they are Tsongas. People start remembering that they are Bedis when there is bread on the table. But when they are hungry, they go to a vendor territory to look for food. But the day there is food on their table, they remind others that no, but when they were elsewhere searching for food in Zululand, in Ndebele land, these things are a reality. People here in Pologwani that are doing work there in Vembe, if you go to Vembe district municipality and find contractors, if you go to Skukune, you'll find the engineers there, you'll find contractors there. And nobody's telling them go home where you come from, because this is their home. All of them. Hey. And I'm saying these concerns are valid. We cannot, for an example, when we've got a project there, we're saying there is a 30% local. How do I then go to Polokwane and take a Masoga brother to become a local in Musina of the 30%? That is, I agree, that is, so those are the things that leadership should not be doing. That is why when we establish a steering committee for a project, we take the local people, we take a CLO from the local community. When there is a need to supply this and that, we take local people to participate and all that. And I'm saying, whether we are within the law or not, I don't know. But we have to navigate through these sensitive issues. Because if we can't do that, this country will burn, this project will burn. One day we'll go there, find people burning tires where Nama Venda, we'll find people burning tires there where no. Right now we are part of Vembe, we live in Collins Chavan, we speak Shangan, because Asarama Venda Barot. Once you start that, and once you allow that to start, you must know it's the beginning of hell breaking loose. So we have to be very, very, very sensitive. When I deal with the people of Musina, I don't look at them and see vendors. I see the people of Musina and the people of Limpopo. It's the same applies with the people of everywhere else, because SEZ, by their definition, are national projects implemented in a province, in a particular municipality, in a district. Can I re-explain it? SEZ. They are national projects led by the DTI in terms of the Special Economic Zone Act. Initiated there national. Even the licenses are issued national. They are implemented in a province like Limpopo. But in Limpopo, there is no land called Limpopo. Then you must go into a specific locality. That is why it's called a zone. You must go into a zone, into a specific locality. And in that zone, it must be belonging to a particular district municipality in terms of the spatial development, the geospatial development of our province and country. And if you see that process, it starts there, the national, it ends in a ward. Because also, the zone itself shall be in a ward. What if the people of the ward says it's us and us alone? The other wards cannot come here because we are the owner of this thing. So it's a very sensitive matter. And when we deal with it, also it can't be legalistic and come and say to people, no, I'm bringing people from Ramashashani to go do subcontracting in Musina because the law says they are local. That is arrogance, but also that is recklessness. So we're doing these things sometimes not guided by the law, but guided by realities of the situation on the ground. And as that's why I'm saying, I'm very thankful that my colleagues from Musina are here this afternoon, and they're not complaining that why are we not in Musina like they always do. And I don't take that light, because I know inside you're complaining, but out of respect for yourself and these people, you're not saying it. But I know inside you're not hate. But as I said, and hence I had to make a commitment that we shall come and do the same thing that we're doing here. And I also want people from outside who've got these skills that they think they can offer, that not to come to Musina and Makado with arrogance. They must not do that. If you are a service provider there because you became #1 in a bidding process and you're working there, don't bring your cross-border arrogance. Work with the locals. Respect them. Respect their way of life. If you want to do that. That's a problem. You see, don't make it our problem. Respect the rules of engagement in a particular locality. And we're pleading. And these things, if you go into the rules, there's no way it's written that to Sanjo Locha Hosh. I agree it's not a prescription. But we do it because it's a reality, because we respect each other when we respect ourselves. So, and these are small things that we're asking. And because if we can't deal with them now, they'll become a problem tomorrow for all of us. Now we've advertised tenders. We've not advertised them in Musina. We've advertised them in the national bulletin. Again, they are in a provincial bulletin, and they're also there in the national treasury. There are people from Eastern Cape that will respond to those bids. And they can bid you and win that bid. Are you going to say you bend tires because the winning service provider speaks Xhosa? Which law did the Masoga break or the service provider break? No, nothing. So these are the realities of South Africa. And we are still better off ourselves because we have not started eating each other like our brothers and sisters are doing elsewhere. at least there is still some level of civility and respect and all that. And if we can't respect this temporary peace, we will miss it the day is gone when we started eating each other. Because that Muslim as a small town can burn. And that SEZ can go away. And remember, if it fails, they will take it elsewhere, by the way. The SEZ will not stop because people of Messina are fighting each other with the people of Makado and all that. It will be removed to another part of the country where there is land and an opportunity. And these things are not a joke. I always tell people, colleagues from Musina, you know that piece of land where we're building the big operation dock, only 10% of it, if I'm not mistaken, is in Makado. The rest of the land is in Musina. But the people who own that land lives in Makado. The owners of that land lives in Makado. But 90% of that land is in Musina. And that's part of the reason why we're calling this project Musina Makado, because we want to unite the people. We want to bring the people together. Because the people of Musina can stand and say, no, that Makado must only get 10% of the opportunities. Because their portion is 10%. But those people who live in Makado can say, this is our land. Musina must get nothing from this land. What do you do? So these are the things that are a reality. We have to live with them, and they need leadership, and they need consciousness. And when we do these things, we're protecting the future of our children. Because if we cannot do it right, our children are doomed. Last point to my brother and Sienide. You spot on, my brother. My appeal to all of us here is, let's become these entrepreneurs who dominate that SEZ. But because I know you don't have the technology to produce toothpick, I'm saying feel free to go ask for it from the people you know has it. Because technology is not ours. It belongs to the foreign men. It belongs to the Chinese, it belongs to the Americans, it belongs to the Germans. And we say, let's go find that technology. That's the duty of an entrepreneur, to find a solution. Let's bring that solution and put it on the table and say, Masowa, here's the solution. How can you help us to become big, to sell a toothpick to the whole country? And then we run around with you, we help you, you become the best that you can. And that's the whole purpose of us coming here together. Talk to each other. And that's why my last slide there was asking questions. How do we help each other to create opportunities? How do we support entrepreneurs? And lastly, who must do what? Those are the questions I ask, because some of them are not of the answers. You are the practitioners, you know the frustrations, you know the solutions, and that is the purpose of this conversation. And please, this conversation of today is not the last one, neither is it the first one. We must continue to engage. We're going to call other ones in other parts of the province and even part of the country. We're still going to Gauteng before the end of the year to go to the investors. Money is there, it's not here. To go look for money for you, there. And if you complain that we're taking your events outside the province, money does not know a border. It's verified, it's in New York, it's in Johannesburg Stock Exchange. So we're trying to chase it for you. But if you complain, you must stay in Pulugan. I want to Pulugan. You not already complain, lady tender Rafael. But capital, real capital, is there, Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, CEO. And as we indicated, the conversations don't stop here. There will be plenty more opportunities. Thank you very much for all the contributions. We will now move on with our program. We're heading towards conclusion. As per the request, we're going to request Dr. Chamano, if you can just ascend the stage or the podium, come to the podium and give us some remarks. Okay, you can come.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I'm not really going to stand between lunch and the people, so I'm going to make it quite short. Part of probably why I should say something is that we need to begin to look at things much more critically, especially the last two questions that were put by the CEO. I, for example, I come from the the so-called post school education and training. So I come from the university, but also I am part of the TVET colleges assisting there, so that we make our education seamless. I'm quite happy, just to acknowledge something before I briefly go through my summary. I'm quite happy that we have the business community here, especially not only Mr. Jelene, but also some young people who will seize the opportunity and will then create more millionaires. We need new millionaires and even billionaires in Limpopo and in Musina in particular. So those are going to be our friends for all sort of things that we will need. But from our side, maybe just 2-3 issues. The first one being an acknowledgement really that as we engage, our role become more clearer and clearer. Mr. Jeleni, you will recall that we met in 2018 at Koroni, and we hosted a conference there where we were looking at this concept and also how the fourth industrial revolution is going to direct our lives in future. I'm quite happy, CEO, that you have now added the issue of the smart city, which is probably going to be the second one, if I recall well, because there's already something that is brewing at, I think it's the Nkuzane village, by Mr. Mike Nkuna. So that talks to very, very important issues around empowerment of our people, so that we get ready for the fourth industrial revolution. It won't be life as usual, and if we want to do tenders, we will have to do tenders in a better, smarter way. So that goes towards assisting us. Secondly, this empowerment talks to the issue of water provisioning. I mean, if you talk the Wembe area and water, then there is a problem there. So I'm quite happy, and you have somewhat also, responded to some of my issues around water pollution, not only environmental pollution, but specifically water. I will say this with the greatest respect in terms of people before other things. I say that with the greatest respect. I know sometimes we have to get our priorities right, and sometimes we have to identify what our agenda is, so that we don't get killed while we are trying to fight other people's fights, if I have to say that. Then there's the issue of jobs that are very important. Indeed, we have to create more entrepreneurs. We have to create more millionaires. But your ordinary good person is like me, and I am just a civil servant. I need a job, and I need to make my contribution so that other people can be better. I've decided to be poor. It's poverty by choice, in the process of empowering others so that they can be millionaires. Now, the other issue here for us, which is going to be a challenge, but in our different fora, we will continue to share that, the issue of program alignment. We're already aware that we are producing graduates that cannot find employment within 6 months of graduating. They cannot create employment for themselves and for others. So it is a challenge that we need to work on seriously, especially us as a public institution. And I am seeing opportunities here for further engagement. Then the so-called work integrated learning opportunities, that will be there so that we then produce a graduate that are ready for the work environment. And the issue of collaboration, Mr. Maso, we have touched on this, Mr. Jeleni, at the conference in 2018, that we have to make sure that there is skills transfer. We have our lessons from the Midwipi project, and we are not supposed to be talking about shortages of skills now after that project. It talks to something that I thought I'll just, in passing, in terms of also involving other TVETs, Pani, Capricorn, Waterberg, and Lipalalo in particular. Because if they have not learned anything out of what has happened in Midwipi, then maybe we have a problem there. So I want to emphasize and underline this. In your engagements, ensure that the skills transfer, ensure that also our people are going to get opportunities to go to China and learn. So that if we are to develop the same program, or if the same program is to be somewhere else, then there should be people who are ready to go and take up those opportunities. The last one is about maybe things that you need again to think deeper about. Your stakeholder engagement model. I think it is important. If you listen to the issues that people are raising here, there might be a need to really reflect. Are you really engaging sufficiently? Is there anything more that you can do over and above what you are currently doing? Most of us, and we tend to fight, and we then have to get somebody, pay somebody to tell us to sit and talk, communicate. There is an information gap somewhere, and we pay for that, we go home very happily. But these are some of the things that we need to infuse in our strategy. The support for the locals, it is important. We cannot pretend and say that we don't understand the depth of what apartheid has done to our communities. We know that, and if we have an opportunity, we have to empower each other. So what the people are raising here, to me, are very, very important, and it's something that we need to do. It's about, your skilling, as you have alluded to, and also financial support. But we do that within reason. We cannot now begin to break rules because we want to, accommodate each other. Otherwise, we will end up wasting opportunities that, if harnessed properly, they will have, changed the lives of our people for the better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chamano, for those remarks, and also, conscientizing us of areas that we also need to focus on as we move forward. We appreciate it. We're now going to move to our second last item, which would be remarks by the Provincial Councillor of the LCCI and President of MMSEZ, Mr. Jeleni. You may come to the podium. Yes.
Is it on? Thank you. MMSEZ, we thank you for the opportunity to be here, particularly as the business community, to have an input on this big project that we are undertaking as the country. One of the things that I was observing, and I think Dr. Chamano touched on it, was to then say, what is our level of engagement? And I was counting, I think we had about 20 comments or so. Out of that, there was one contribution in terms of what you can almost take home. And this is the reality of where we are as South Africans. And our cry or our desire as the business community is that we can move to what they call a round table. I'm being a bit academic. And on that level, we are actually coming to hear the presentation by the CEO, and we give him input to an extent that he can even change his mind. So we are actually sharpening each other in a way. And I noted that most of the questions needed either a correction, change of mind. And I want to say, CEO, as much as I'm saying that probably just one comment, it's something that you can take home. Everything that was said there, it's real for us as the business community. And maybe that is a cry to say, take us to another level. Whether yourself, other government departments, or other agencies, but we need to be taken to another level. Not only because we feel we deserve, mainly because we must be competitive in the global economy. So no matter how much we group each other, if we bring other people from other regions, the way we are contributing at this point in time, unfortunately, we stand to lose. There are two things, and I'm grouping them under fear, or are the two things that we are afraid of as entrepreneurs. The first thing is losing an opportunity. That's why all of us are here. You know, we are really afraid to miss an opportunity. The second thing that we are afraid of, it's if we grab an opportunity and then we lose money because of that opportunity. And I think you spoke very well, CEO, in terms of what happened in Mudupi. I know a couple of business people who had their fingers burned there. They lost money. They jumped in to grab the opportunity. And I think in the end what we need is a conducive environment that will ensure that we jump into this moving train, but with an assurance that we are not going to lose money. I do not know how we do that, and I wouldn't even want to put that burden on you, Ms. Makui. But I think as a collective, we need to find a way. But in my own space, when I was thinking, I went back to the words of the president of the country during the SONA speech, where he said and emphasized that business is responsible to create jobs. And for me, that was a task that I felt was too heavy on my shoulders, because given his motto of Tumamina, in actual fact, he was saying to business people, go and create jobs. The second thing that I took from him as well, from the SONA, is the fact that there was a need to review the legislation, particularly around business. And correctly said, CEO, we cannot just change legislation willy-nilly. We cannot come to your office and demand that you change the rules. Now, when I heard those things in terms of we must create jobs, and of course we must review the legislations, I then said to myself, I will make a proposition in my head in terms of what does that mean to me in a single sentence or a single word. To me, it meant that we need to create
peer review systems for the business community. And I drew this, Dr. Chamano, from the academic industry. I have realized that at the university, at the TVET, you are not just a teacher, you are a scholar, you are an academic. Now, in the business community, the person who runs an incubation, it's actually not an entrepreneur. There is no peer review mechanism in that space. And at times, we have to endure some kind of dictatorship in there. We are teaching you what we are teaching you, you actually cannot question it. So for me, and I'm saying this to then say, isn't there a way that we must rethink the so-called incubation as is being proposed to something that will incorporate peer review mechanism? Because to me, that's what is going to move us from a complaining nation to a contributing nation. And Dr. Chamano, you spoke about possibly reviewing the stakeholder engagement model. And maybe in this space, when we talk about peer review, as I am saying, it's some of those things that we can actually borrow. When you remind me about our conference in 2018, my topic was to speak about the industry academy collaboration in a way. And one of the things that we noted was the fact, as you have alluded to, the fact that the curriculum was not really aligned to the needs of the country. But what is funny is that the research level, the research output, it's actually aligned. So while the academic curriculum itself is not aligned to produce a worker, on the research level we are very good at producing. I'm coming back to the fact of them saying that those youth that we are producing who cannot get jobs, if we can have some kind of a peer review mechanism in the entrepreneurship space, where we engage each other, we sharpen each other, we are likely to be on the same level as the academic. As CEO, I wouldn't want to put that on your shoulders either. But of course, I would want to say that we need to find a way and collaborate and work together on that one. The second issue that came to mind then was to say, we need to make sure that entrepreneurship is no longer confined to incubation, but it goes to the classroom. From sub A, if there is such a thing these days, or grade, whatever. But we need to make sure, because when you check other countries, entrepreneurship is almost embedded in their genes. It's natural for them to actually do that. For us, you have to learn it when you don't get a job. And that is a serious challenge. And if you have to learn it when you don't get a job, we need to find a way to accelerate it. And hence I am emphasizing the peer review mechanism. Let's take an example of Silicon Valley. You go to Silicon Valley, it's entrepreneurs who are actually running incubation. Actually, the model in Silicon Valley is that of peer review. If you're not competitive, your incubation goes down. But in South Africa, an incubation may not produce anything, it will still be there and being funded. Now, two institutions that I want to blame today for the lack of skills in South Africa that we don't have CEO is the incubations and the sitters. They've just become money-making scheme. They get funded every year, train kids, they don't give them skills, and they still continue. And in this project, CEO, as you correctly said, in terms of what happened in Mudupi, I'm going to say, let us confront this animal head on. Let us make sure that we deal with these two aspects, incorporate them properly into our idea of incubation. I have learned something, Dr. Chamano, that actually money follows people who have got business manners. And I stole this from a discussion, I don't know whether it was with you and somebody else outside, where we said PhD is not about intelligence. It's actually about observing the rules of academy. Colleagues, business, it's all about that, observing the rules of academies. How many of us were early? The rules of business. That is rule number 1. Be the first to arrive where there is an opportunity. Now, until we come to a point where those rules of business or business manners are embedded in us, and to me, through peer review, because when you do a PhD, actually what we're doing most of the time is peer review. They call me to come and present, and they criticize me to hell. I remember the first criticization. I'm doing PhD. When I was first criticized, I wanted to quit. It's like, what are you trying to say? And the topic that I'm doing, by the way, it's aligned to my work. I'm doing a research around the involvement of the business sector in local economic development. Then when they criticized, it was like, who are you? To tell me, you know, about how we must do enterprise development. And later I learned that they want to shape me to fit into the academy. It was not about my intelligence, you know, they cut that thing off. And we need a way in the business community to make sure that we have got the business rules amongst ourselves. And if you have that, when you make a presentation, money is just going to follow you. Most of us are not able to get the money simply because as you present yourself, you do not fit into the space of entrepreneurs. CEO, I also want to borrow from your words as well. And I want to be harsh here, as I'm always very harsh. I think the roles of most of the agencies are long gone, or they've lost relevance. I'm talking leaders, CDAP, CFAM, and IDC. They have never evolved. They are still the same for the past 27 odd years. Now, you correctly said, CEO, and said MMSEZ is going to be taken out of leader to stand on its own as a company. Why? You know it won't perform if it's inside leader. You know you won't have the flexibility to attract the skills that you need. Now I can tell you, if we were to review the skills of people who are sitting in the agencies today, we can fire all of them. Actually, I dare you now, nobody can mentor me in any of those institutions. We can take the test. Actually, they cannot mentor 50% of the people who are sitting in here. They don't have that capacity. Now, I am actually in the process of writing a letter, you know, to the CEO of Leader, because there is one staff member in Leader. It's supposed to be a mentor when they go to help business people. You know, when they get there, they're like, yeah, so what's that? What are you trying to do? So where do you think? Do you understand what's business? They said, it can be. But CEO, we are saying we need to find a way to make sure that Musina Makhado SEZ doesn't fail, mainly because of people who are not necessarily direct stakeholders. This project, in the next 20 years or 30 years, when we review like we're reviewing Medupi, your name is going to be up there on the board. And whoever was carrying the project of Medupi, I'm sure he doesn't want to be seen anywhere. I'm definitely sure. And some of those things we prophesized in Medupi. I was part of the first consultants of conceptualizing the Musina Makhado SEZ, by the way. Our team of consultants were appointed around 2011. We're the first ones to look at the water availability. And we understood some of the challenges, and one of the things that I used to say was to say, water is a national resource. We cannot be told that there's no water in Musina. It can be taken from anywhere. It was taken from Lesotho to supply Gauteng. CEO, as I come to conclude, it would be wrong of me not to acknowledge the amount of work we have done thus far. Every time you stand up and make presentations, I get surprised at how innovative you become. I was shocked with the dam issue. I work in the water industry. We explored a number of options around it in terms of protecting Mozambique. So if you do that, you will not only be harvesting water, you will actually be protecting Mozambique. So from our side, we support the project. We support your leadership. I'm not so sure about the other side that somebody said, but and we are glad that you are in that helm. But we are just saying, let's make sure that we trim anything that is coming by the side. That will make sure that in 20 years' time, you don't want to be seen anywhere near Musina. Personally, I want to retire nicely in Musina. So I want to make sure that the project succeeds. Colleagues, the Limpopo Chamber of Commerce and Industry that I represent is making sure that as the business community we speak in one voice. We have got the national structure, which is the National Union of Municipal Chambers of Commerce and Industry, with provincial chambers in all provinces in South Africa. We are making sure we speak in one voice. The issues that I have said in terms of peer review, we have started, Ms. Makuya. Somebody spoke about the issue of patent. I have got Advocate Muraudzi. We have come up with what we call business clinic. In that space, he sits there. One of the things that we want to do is to make sure that we protect the ideas of our people. So in that space, we deliberate, but we also make sure that as you're deliberating, your ideas are protected. We have had some challenges, arguments in terms of, is it the role of government or the role of private sector? I still say enterprise development is the role of private sector. The CEDA, CIFA leader, they were put in as project to kickstart because we were coming from the era of oppression. But at some point it was supposed to be handed over. And we are not just waiting for it to be handed over, we are taking it by force. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jeleni. And we really appreciate your support at all times. We know that when we make that call, we always get support from you and other members of the chambers. Without any waste of time, it's been a long morning and afternoon. I'm going to call up to the podium Mr. Mushwana, who will give us the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, thank you, Chair. I'll not take long lest I prove Mr. Jeleni right as one of the people who work for these agencies that deserves to get fired. So I'll get right on to the point. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, from business formations, from the media, for taking time out from your busy schedule to come and spend your time with us. There are a whole range of other attractions this beautiful province of ours has got to offer, but we decided that it's worthwhile to come and spend your time with us. So we want to thank you that for us, thank you for that. Just to be clear, the CEO has said that, or rather what the CEO is saying is that we're not in the business of stoning Zimbabweans when they come close to where our operation is, because sometimes when these things don't get clarified, tomorrow you see headlines, Musina Makhado, CEO encourages people to stone Zimbabweans. It was just a figure of speech to try and demonstrate the proximity between our operation and Zimbabwe. So, ladies and gentlemen, a special thanks goes to Mr. Jeleni and Dr. Chamani, who actually passed the vote of thanks. And all the things that is touched on are the things that I felt were prudent for me to say in the vote of thanks, and I will not go there. But mine is to say thank you very much, CEO. Thank you very much for your stellar leadership. And now we are truly and well open for business. And in the process of being open for business, we will make mistakes. We will do things that are uncomfortable and vice versa. But this is part of stakeholder engagement and robust engagement. There's no way of going around that.
has got to be done, but rest assured, our hearts are in the right place. And our informal motto in the SEZ, or rather the motto of the CEO when he talks to us is that we must not be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of the process, and we are in uncharted territory. So bear with us, but we are open for business. We are available to you, and contact us anytime with whatever issues, ideas, and proposals that you might have. Thank you very much.
On that note, lunch is served. It will be served just outside this venue. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you. Maybe I must also make this an